doing this for a little bit. But at the end of the day, I think it's pretty good.
No, I hear you. It can be tough kind of carving out that routine time that's like not
Right.
work,
Right.
but
All right, there we are. Now we're live. All right, cool.
perfect.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta finagle with it. All right, everyone. Well, thanks for hopping in on the martini shot. Today is Oscar, so instead of doing the normal, typical format of going through all the news, getting to know the creator, I've gotten to know this guy pretty well over the past year or so. He's a good friend of the channel. We have him on all the time. He actually helped kick off this live stream. So, what better way to spend your time than hanging out with two dudes who don't really care about the Oscars, but we're going to be talking about it for the next couple hours. Anyway, my guest today is John Sullivan, aka Sully Streams. Sully, what's going on, man?
Not much. Excited to be here, talk some Oscars. Like you said, the I feel like the popularity in the whole ceremony has been waning a little bit as the
Yeah.
years go on. It definitely has been for me. Watched the mood came over me last night. Watched Ang Lee's Hulk last night for the
Oh
first time.
wow,
I don't
interesting.
know. I don't know why, but overhated, I think I'll
I think
say.
so too. I actually think
Yeah.
that movie gets way more hate than it
It has some
deserves.
sauce, I'll say that.
Yeah, I think Eric Bana was actually a really solid Bruce Banner, and his Hulk was a good Hulk. You
And I
know,
actually like the overly green CGI. Like
yeah,
that's kind
big
of
jolly
my
green giant
I like it.
CGI.
Yeah. But yeah, no, feeling good. Ready to be completely wrong on my Oscar predictions like I usually am every year, and we'll kind of
Yeah.
just see how it unfolds here.
Yeah, I'm interested with some of them. Did you get a chance to check out all the movies?
I still have not seen Nickel Boys or Brutalist,
Okay.
unfortunately.
Okay. Oh, you haven't seen Brutalist yet.
No, I
I
haven't
was
seen
I
the
was
one.
interested. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on that movie when you actually do get to see it.
Yeah, I haven't gotten the combined 6 hours to watch both of those yet.
Yeah.
But I mean, I definitely want to watch them, but I just haven't had a
Yeah.
chance to before. I told myself I was going to do it before the ceremony, but fell through the cracks, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, I get that. It's hard to especially a 3.5 hour movie. And The
Yeah.
Brutalist is a very interesting movie. It has moments of brilliance. It has moments where I'm like, what are they even doing with this movie? And then it just keeps going.
Where are you? Where are you at with the AI accent stuff?
Yeah, so I've actually, I guess I had you on before I started talking about it with the other with the other creators that I've been having on. But I think I got talked down a little bit. I was sort of on the traditionalist, like, it's a slippery slope. Let's keep it out of the movies, sort of thing. But then I was like, well, as a content creator, and I'm sure you utilize AI. Just, I mean, I do too. It's a useful tool. I think the idea of writing a script from it kind of grosses me out.
Yeah.
But where I stand on it for like the brutalist, you know, this is my thing. The Academy and the Actors Guild and everybody went on strike. They made such a big deal about AI, and that was really kind of the focal point amidst other things. But they really honed in on AI, and it kind of feels shitty and hypocritical for them to reward people for using it.
Hmm.
That said, the way they used it in The Brutalist, I don't really have a problem with.
Yeah.
I think it's just the lack of transparency is where I'm kind of like, if you guys just, because I saw James Cameron with the new Avatar movie, he's gonna put like a little
There's a little
disclaimer,
disclaimer.
yeah, a little disclaimer
Such a
beforehand.
hardo. I
I
love it.
know, I know. He's like, no AI was used in this film.
Yeah.
I just, I think I've kind of been talked into the viewpoint of I don't care if you use it, just be honest about it.
Yeah. I think it's going to be one of those things that for a very long time, while it's kind of still in the beginning stages and it's kind of like the
Right.
Wild West, I think it's going to just come down to a case by case basis.
I agree. And here, I'm sharing that real
Like,
fast.
I did not care at all when they kind of came out and said that for like 5 seconds of a fake commercial screen, it was used in Late Night with the Devil.
I didn't care either because that
Like,
movie
that,
was made for like $1 million.
yeah. Like, you gotta sometimes cut corners if you're gonna make that budget of a film and try to get
Right.
it seen by people. And it was like on screen for maybe a second.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I don't
And then
think using that took away like a job of an art director or a
right.
graphic designer, really. But like I said, it's just gonna end up being a case by case basis. It's definitely a polarizing topic.
Yeah, it sure is. And I think the problem with it, like I said, is is the lack of transparency. But then with the brutalist, it's like, who do you believe too? Because there's all kinds of different people saying that, yeah, we used it for this, and then no, we didn't use it for that. And so with the brutalist, I know the Hungarian accent. I'm also like kind of at the point where I'm like, I don't care. I don't speak Hungarian. You
Right.
can be speaking any. You could just be saying gibberish, and if the subtitles are there, I'm gonna read them. But the generative stuff is kind of where it gets really sticky, because I know that they were saying they used it for some of the architectural drawings that they rendered those through AI.
Yeah.
And then I know with Emilia Perez, outside of that movie being complete and utter dog shit, there was some AI used to help Carla Sophia Gascon's singing voice. So,
Love Carla.
oh yeah, yeah, she's really done a number, huh?
My goodness. I can't believe she's going to be there tonight.
It's wild, man. But that's like 101 of like how to go from easy shoe in to best
Mhm.
picture, just because Hollywood loves to pat themselves on the back, to like
Yes.
to like Outcast.
Yeah. I
Uh,
think going back to the brutalist, I think the issue is it's seen as such a taboo topic that
right,
like what made I don't think they really from what I've seen, they haven't used it in the most like disgusting, offensive way possible. But I
right.
do think like what made it seem more shady is like you said, there wasn't transparency.
Yep.
So it kind of then it came out. Someone was like, "There's a rumor they use it for the accent," and they're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, we use it for that." And then that was it. And then someone else was like, "Yeah, I heard you guys use it for some of the architecture," and he's like, "Okay, yeah, we did some of that too." Like it's like
Yeah,
just say it all, and
exactly.
it wouldn't have been a story.
It
Just
wouldn't have
like
been a
say
deal.
it. Yeah,
And I think part of that too is just with some of those traditionalists, they're not gonna reward the movie because of it. Because I felt like after Amelia Perez kind of fell off the wayside, it was the Brutalist, and now it seems like neither one of those movies are even in the talk. But I mean, the Brutalist still could win. It's won a few awards since then.
how many votes realistically of Academy members that we assume actually
Watch
watch all the movies?
yeah, yeah.
How many do you think that would alter the vote of after the eight? Like, do you think there's a good percent that actually feels strongly about anti AI, or they just think the general public feels that strongly about anti AI that's going to change their vote?
So that's kind of the virtue signaling of Hollywood, right?
Yeah,
Like I
right.
think there's probably some people like some of the older directors who are in the academy, maybe like a Spielberg or something like that, who genuinely has an issue with it. Maybe like an older actor, because I know Bryan Cranston was kind of leading the way against AI. So if he was a part of the academy, I'd assume he'd probably vote just from how he feels about it. But
Yeah,
most of it's probably just a virtuous, virtue signaling thing on their end. That wouldn't surprise me in the least.
yeah.
um, so where are you standing on some of these issues? I know you briefly touched on it, but I'm curious your thoughts.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I literally think it's just coming down to a case by case basis. I'd have to see. Like I don't think there's any other way to properly judge it.
Yeah.
Um, like yeah, no. I mean, like I was about to use the word offenses because it's like it's kind of used as okay. If anyone uses AI, it's like an offense to
Y-
filmmaking as a whole.
right.
But I guess just for the sake of kind of simplicity using that term, I would have to just like judge each offense as they come along and see if it kind of feels like, all right, this probably shouldn't have been done that way, or okay, people are just want to get angry.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the day and age we live in, right? Where people just they want to get pissed for the sake of
The
being.
thing that I'll always be upset with though is if it's ever used to kind of just create a subpar product. Like if it's
Yeah.
used for speed rather than perfecting something.
Right.
Like I know people have talked a lot about, I haven't really seen it myself, but I've seen some accounts talking about specific like, 4K releases and stuff where they've kind of taken old movies and kind of used like restorative AI to make things look cleaner and have a better frame rate and stuff. And then you'll like really zoom in on like words in the background and just be complete gibberish
Yeah.
when you could see it clearly in the old original film reel and stuff. So,
Right.
if it results in like the desecration of a film product, then I'm out.
Yeah.
But Like I remember I'm a massive Wallace and Gromit guy.
Right. I remember you mentioning that. Yeah.
And I think that there was a 4K release pretty recently. I already had the box set on Blu-ray, so I was like, I don't need this. But apparently, the 4K box set, they kind of did some funky AI stuff, and like in the background, all like the labels in like Wallace's kitchen or something, you could tell like they were just illegible now, even though it
Yeah.
was a higher aspect ratio. So, um, but when it comes to like new movies, kind of using it, you know, it's just gonna. I don't really have a hard and fast rule. Like I said, like I felt like everything was okay with what I learned about Late Night with the Devil.
Right.
A little bit more questionable about the stuff with the Brutalist. It's just gonna be kind of like a take it as I see it.
Yeah. And I might be wrong on this, but I heard someone say that they used AI for the eyes in the Dune movies, but I'm not
It's
sure.
like making blue.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it just
Something like
kind
that. I
of
don't really care because
so I also think AI is becoming too much of like a blanket term if
yeah.
someone doesn't totally understand technology. Like if I'm using like Premiere and
Right.
there is like a new function where I can click it and it can make my eye red
Then you'll do
and
it. Yeah.
like I don't see that as like AI. Like
Yeah.
do you see that the same way or like
I mean, to a certain extent, but no, I know what you mean. Like if you know how camera filters for the longest time have had the red eye removal. It's like you're
yeah.
just using a filter essentially. So
It just
it's
makes me
not
think like any technological task where you're not the one in the driver's seat is making it seem like it's AI now. Like if I go onto
right.
Canva to make a thumbnail and like want to make myself look red like Red Hulk for Captain America, right?
Right.
Like am I using AI and am I part of the problem if I don't paint myself red in the picture myself and I instead click a button to make myself red? Like that's kind of where I don't know. It's like I could go for hours on, what the definition is there or not.
I know
So,
exactly what. Yeah, yeah. That's where it gets a little hairy. I was talking to someone, and I said one of the issues that I kind of foresee with this, it's because it's happening now, is you and me watch a lot of movies, especially like a lot of streaming stuff,
yeah.
and the streaming element of movies, and this is where I think the slippery slope kind of comes into play. Is like I swear to God, man, most of these movies I watch, especially on streaming, I sit back afterwards and go, that was written completely by AI.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
even if it was written by a person, which most likely it was.
Yeah.
I still don't believe that it was just because it's such just mediocre
Horse shit.
aspect crap. Yeah,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
that's one of my thing, and I think that's kind of taken the air out of the sails with a lot of people.
Yeah.
Uh, and so, because it's like now the streaming movies kind of have the reputation of like a Steven Seagal movie from the 90s. It's just they got, bigger budgets and A-list stars as opposed to a once A-list star for like a moon
Yeah.
and then he just kind of became a joke in and of itself. And that's how streaming movies feel to me, because whenever a good one's released, it's always just like, "Oh, thank God that why didn't you release that in the theaters?"
Well, this is a little bit of a tangent, so you can stop me
Oh,
whenever.
I love
But
it. I love it.
but
I'm here
in
for
this kind of in the same vein as streaming and whatnot, um, I was like looking at a Twitter conversation the other day about how people questioning just why Netflix hates the theatrical experience so much that like even with their big release movies every year, they almost never put anything in theaters. Like you at least have something like Apple TV Plus, like maybe their movies are in theaters for a week. At
Right.
least they have a limited run kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so someone used a great example with The Electric State, that Russo brothers movie that's coming out next week,
Uh-huh.
with like Millie Bobby Brown and Chris Pratt and stuff, and talking about how it's almost like it's a shield for the people involved where like they get paid a boatload of money
Right.
and a ton of people watch it at home. They would have never gone to see it in the theaters. So to Netflix at a face value, they don't have any bombs. Like they
Yeah.
cannot possibly have a bomb because if you put it out in theaters, who knows? But like, then they could make an awful movie, but like Chris Pratt, Millie Bobby Brown, the Russo brothers, they never get to suffer any of the negative reputational
Mhm.
consequences that would have come if the sole idea if it was released in theaters instead.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. I never really thought about that
So I was
because
like, okay, yeah, I definitely think like I was just thinking about it the other day and I kind of came to that conclusion. I was like, Yeah, I mean, because I don't personally think Electric State's going to be the best movie this year. So we will see. I'm actually a little bit of a Russo brothers hater, unfortunately, but that's a different
Yeah, me
story.
too. I mean, I like their
MCU outings are great.
MCU was great, Community was great, but
Leave the
everything.
rest.
Yeah, leave the rest, man. That's you're right on that.
Yeah.
Because everything they've done since Endgame, I haven't really cared for. I mean, I'm very interested to see Electric State.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm gonna
Yeah,
watch it.
I've actually I own the book. It's kind of like a very graphic novel.
Yeah.
It's not really a graphic novel, but it's a illustrated book in the form of a graphic novel, and it's really cool. It's not something that like I think is really deep and something that I'd read to like really gain anything out of, but it's just like a cool sort of cyberpunky sci-fi.
I mean, it just
Uh,
seems like it's like a old style humans versus robot war version of like Ready
right,
Player One or something.
right, yeah, exactly, and
Yeah.
yeah,
But
yeah,
sorry, you asked me about AI, and then I had you talking about Chris Pratt and the Russo brothers. So I'm sorry, I
yeah.
got you off stream
Well,
there.
no, I was just it's curious to me for like a AI discussion because I do feel like a lot of people, especially when I'm reviewing stuff, and I've heard you mention it in a review or two where you're like, I'm convinced this was written solely by AI. So
Yeah.
that's where I think the slippery slope is kind of going with that. I don't know, man. The state of movies right now is really bizarre because you and me probably like we love going to the theater.
Yeah.
It's like there's nothing like it. The problem is with a lot of the movies now is like you miss the movie one week and the next weekend you can already get it on video.
Yeah, that's the real problem. They just need to implement some kind of window.
They do.
It's
They,
really bad.
they need to let movies play out in the theater. They need to let the word of mouth at least try to stay there.
Yeah.
And then they need to make people miss that movie so then when they do release it to VOD or streaming or whatever, then it can garner that word of mouth back.
Because that's a legitimate motivator for me if there's something that I'm dying to see
Right.
and I'm like, all right, well, if I don't make the time, the show times are dwindling as the
Right.
days goes on. If I don't make the time, I ain't seeing this
Right.
until like 4 or 5 months from now when it hits Blu-ray or digital or whatever. That kind of desire and motivation is like completely gone with the way things are right now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, it's interesting, man. I had an actor on here a couple weeks ago, and he has like a he wrote and starred in this like super indie movie, and it was pretty good. It wasn't like the best movie I'd ever seen or anything, but I
yeah,
appreciated it because it was so low budget, and he worked his ass off to get the movie made. But he came from like the marketing, the PR side of things before he got in front of the camera. And I was like, every person I have on here doesn't matter their political backgrounds or whatever. It's just like everybody to a T is like, I miss seeing comedy movies in the theater.
oh my
Because
god, yeah,
nowadays, when you make a comedy movie, it's not a comedy movie. There's like nothing like watching Old School in the theater surrounded by a bunch of people. And he was like, well, he was kind of approaching it from they're just not profitable
yeah.
anymore, like overseas. And I understand that to an extent, but I'm like, look, with horror movies, I mean, not all horror movies are profitable overseas, but they make them for like, I mean, Companion was made for what, like $8 million. I
Yeah.
mean, it didn't do well in the box office overall, but it
But it doesn't
still made its
really
money back.
matter. Yeah, it
Yeah,
doesn't really matter.
it still made its money back within the first weekend, and it had a really good word of mouth, and it's just like it seems like you could really model the horror or take after that horror model
Yeah.
and just start making
Inject it into
comedies again.
comedy. Yeah.
I was like, honestly, I think it's just that there's not any Hollywood studio that has the balls right now to make anything that's going to be somewhat offensive to people. I was like, I think that's really where it starts and ends.
Yeah, I think, I have my list over here of like my 2024 ranked movies, and there's like a couple that are I've said this for a while that I think the most dead genre in film in the last like 5 to 10 years is obviously comedy. Like it's on life support.
It is.
But I think two that I really enjoyed last year, and who knows, I might even have them ranked higher just because they're comedies. But
Right.
they're both in my top 15. Is that movie Snack Shack, and
Yeah, that was actually pretty solid.
I liked that one.
It was
And
straight to streaming though, wasn't it?
I don't remember. I didn't see it in a theater,
Okay.
so it could have been.
I
And
think it was.
and Hundreds of Beavers.
Hundreds of Beavers was awesome.
Yeah, so I'm
Dude.
like those two. But the thing with Hundreds of Beavers that worries me a little bit though is it's almost like that one had to jump through so many hoops, and it's like the most creative thing ever.
Yeah, it had to be really creative in order
You
for it
know,
to get any sort of word of mouth, and it was made for like nothing.
but that is a movie that its charm is because it had no money.
Right.
You know, like they had to be like, they're like, all right, how do we, we can't use CGI, we can't do any of that, so we just like do it ourselves, and
Yeah.
to great effect. But
Yeah, you're right.
yeah, comedy
Yeah.
is suffering. It's like anytime I'm looking at a comedy movie, I'm watching something from like the 90s or the early 2000s. So
100%. And I was watching Judd Apatow the other day. He was talking about it, and he was like, "Yeah, someone made a comedy nowadays, like 40-Year-Old Virgin or The Hangover or something, and make $1 billion." And I was like, "Well, why don't you do it then, bro?" Like,
he's on my shit list right now,
yeah,
actually.
why?
I hated The Bubble. I think that was one of the worst comedies in the last 30 years.
I
Did
don't
you
think
ever
I
watch
ever
that?
I didn't watch it. I didn't.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. It was like the definition of it. Do you even know what it is?
No, I have no idea. I haven't
Okay,
even heard of
dude.
it.
Okay, hold on.
Okay, let's do
Because,
this.
well, because you're going to be really shocked that you don't know what this is with this cast. So it was a straight to Netflix movie
Uh-huh.
during the pandemic. And of course, covering the very unfunny topic of the pandemic
Right.
because it was like a pandemic movie. So it's the cast and crew of a blockbuster action franchise attempt to shoot a sequel while quarantining at a posh hotel,
All
right?
right. I already hate it.
Karen Gillan, Iris Apatow, Fred Armisen, uh, David Duchovny, Keegan-Michael Key, Leslie Mann, Kate McKinnon, Pedro Pascal, Rob Delaney. That might be it. But it is like just the most unfunny, like it was basically a comedy made for the 10-second attention span TikTok generation,
Ugh.
and it is horrendous.
Did his kids have like a say in the movie or something of what happened?
His younger daughter was like the second lead, basically.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
And she's like filming TikTok dances with like CGI raptors from their sequel movie in
Right.
the film. I can't honestly, dude. You have to check it out. I honestly
do. It
like.
sounds
It's not even one of those like so bad it's good. It's like so bad you need to see it so you remember like how good cinema is. You
that's
know,
like Joker 2.
still never saw it.
Man, you got it.
Still never saw it.
I think it's one of those where you really have to muster up the
I know. I'll
the
watch
will
it.
to watch it.
Well, the thing is, I don't have any ill will yet. Like, it's like one of those things where I'm almost convinced it can't be that bad because the first film was good. So I
Yeah.
won't know, but I have no problem like sitting down. I just got to watch it.
Yeah, I agree. And so yeah, and even now when they release comedies like quote unquote comedies, like I watched the new Will Ferrell and Reese Witherspoon movie recently.
Yeah, I skipped that.
You're cordially invited.
Yeah.
Yeah, you made the right choice. But what's funny to me is like 20 years ago, if that movie came out, it would have made $500 million. It would have been all anyone talked about, and it would have been hilarious. But I
Yep.
think the problem I have with a lot of these quote unquote comedies now is you watch it and you're sitting there. They set up the joke, they deliver the joke, and then there's the aftermath of the joke. But in that whole process, you're sitting there going, where's the funny part though?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You're like, I know that was the joke, but it's not even close to being funny. Like,
I think
there's nothing funny about it.
I think the tough part is if you watch a lot of comedy from previous decades and then you watch new stuff, it is really, I don't know if you feel like this, but I just have like I have like the memory of an elephant for better or worse. So it's like
Sure.
I'm watching these new comedy movies and it's so obvious. Like there are so many stolen jokes and stolen shticks done to lesser effect
Yep.
that I'll be like, oh, that was from, this movie. Oh, that was from this 90s movie. That was great. And it's just like, it's redone. It's not as good.
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't know, man. I'm comedy is just in such a tough spot.
It is, and the only time you can get any sort of like big laughs out of a movie is when you go see the new Deadpool movie or Guardians of the
Hey,
Galaxy.
say what you will, because a lot of people have a lot to say about this. Say what you will about the cinematic experience that is Ricky Stenicki. That was the closest I've felt, even though it wasn't very good. That was the closest I felt to watching a shitty, kind of raunchy, like
So
90-minute comedy movie in a
I
long
I
time.
I agree with you to a certain extent. It had elements, and
Yes.
if John Cena wasn't as good as he was in that movie, it would have just been almost unwatchable.
Yeah.
But yeah, it got close to
Closer
pre
than anything in a long
yeah,
time.
closer to pre-cancel culture comedy levels that
Yeah.
I'd seen in a while, but at the end of the day it still failed. And what really bummed me out is I saw that, and then the Fairley brothers got back together to make a new movie, and then it ended up being that Dear Santa with Jack Black,
Oh god.
which is the opposite of funny. There's
Yeah, I didn't
nothing
watch
funny
that.
in that movie.
Are you expect just, because kind of a 6 degrees separation involving Jack Black in that movie? Are you expecting Minecraft to be like anything more than like a 3 out of 10?
No, it looks so bad, man.
But I'm also like,
But yeah, go ahead.
it looks so bad that I'm like, is this like a 2 out of 10? But I'm gonna have like the best time of my life with this movie.
Yeah, I see elements of that for sure. My middle kid, my son, he loves Minecraft, and even he's like, I don't know, that movie looks kind of weird. Like normally
I
he sees a movie trailer and he's like, oh my god, let's go. And this one he's kind of like, I don't know, that one's not really doing it for
I
me.
think I've said this for a while, so I think this is what the allure is too. I've said that I think if I was born like 10 years later,
Uh huh.
like you and I wouldn't even be having this conversation because I would be like hooked up to a machine playing Minecraft.
Pretty
Like
much.
I
Yeah.
think that I would be absolutely obsessed.
I could
But
I could definitely see myself being that way. And
yeah.
what's so funny, man, is like with his video games, he likes playing Minecraft or Roblox online with his friends, like his
Yeah.
school buddies. And I'm like, and I see those games, and I'm like, oh, this is why all kids talk like a bunch of idiots now,
Yes.
with the
Yes.
skibbity riz and all that. I'm like, this game I feel like they're developed by 5-year-olds. Uh,
Yeah, or at
no
least
offense to
like
anybody who's put in a lot of work, but I
well,
just, you
no,
know.
I think that they have like a 5-year-old on the executive board. That like they have like
He's
he
putting his
makes all the
feet up with
decisions.
his chocolate milk. Yeah.
Yeah, like in a suit. It's like Boss Baby.
Yeah.
Like it's just like they kind of like if things are getting too if they're telling jokes and the kid's like what they're like okay we gotta bring it back down and then the kid's like dying laughing.
Yeah.
You're like all right we got a winner.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Skibbity Riz.
Yeah. Well, sometimes even my daughter who's 12, like she'll come home and say a word, like everything is, oh, that's so Sigma right now. I'm like,
Yeah.
what does that even mean?
Yeah.
And she's like, well, one of my teachers won't let me say it. And I was like, well, if you can't explain it, then I'd prefer you not say it. I don't even know what it means.
I
You don't
never
even know
want
what it
to I
means.
never want to get caught in that jam, so I feel like in more than most people I will go out of my way and do the homework so that like I know all the terms, like I'm not going to let anything get by me.
Yeah, that's probably a good way to be. But there's so many that just kind of come out of there. And I mean, I know
And then
I
it's
was.
over in like a week,
Yeah,
like
it's over
it's
in a
like
week.
it's not
But
even
I remember when I think I'm a little bit older than you, so I remember like I was in high school in the early 2000s, like 99 to 2003 is when I was in
yeah.
high school. So it was we had like everything was tight or that's dope,
Yeah.
stuff
Yeah.
like that. And it's like, but those words to me, and I was like, maybe I'm biased. They made sense. Their
Those are
words,
still around though, I
yeah,
think.
a
Like
little bit.
that shows like they had a little bit of a
Yeah,
lasting
yeah, they had longevity, but a
you
lot
still
of
know
the
what they mean.
yeah,
Anyone would know what they mean.
yeah, that's true. That's
Yeah.
true. And I think with a lot of the words that these kids say now, it just sounds like nonsense.
Yeah.
It just sounds like gibberish. So that's where I kind of, and it's even a lot of it goes with a lot of the things like the music now. Like my
Yeah.
daughter was playing a song for me, and I was like, "Who is this?" And she told me the name. I don't know any of the singers nowadays.
Yeah.
I was like, "You now officially." I turned 40 next month. I'm like, "You
Yeah.
now officially make me feel like an old man. Like I don't
Right.
know who any of these singers are.
Yeah, it's
I don't know
tough.
any of the words that you're saying to me." Uh, so
Sorry you're going through that.
oh man, it's okay. I'm like our parents went through it too.
Yeah.
So my dad was talking to me, and he was like, "Yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to see what their generation creates. And I was like, honestly, I was like,
I'm
this is a
terrified.
generation of nothing but consumers. I was
Yes.
like, none of these kids know how to use a computer. They only know how to use an iPhone, and they watch, 5 to 10 second videos. I was like, so their attention span is all over the place.
Yeah.
Because I was reading a report that like computers are, they're coming out with all these cool advancements with like quantum computing and things of that nature. And I was like, well, who's going to use it?
Right.
Because my generation, and I think your generation is probably the last that really embraced the computer. Now the computer's kind of becoming a relic in and of itself.
I think one of the things that's happened recently that's really made me think we're doomed going forward is have you ever seen, I don't know if it's a TikTok or whatever. I think I saw a clip of it on Twitter of there's like that Asian lady, that like Asian model where you can pay her a ton of money for her for like 1 second to like show your product, and then she puts it down and like picks up another product,
Oh
and
my
then she'll
gosh.
she'll just like keep like, it's like she has a conveyor belt of products going in front of her, and it's like $10,000 just for her to go like this, and then she puts it down, and then she picks
Yes,
up
I
a
have
shirt.
seen this.
It's uh like I'm sure that works really well, which is what's terrifying.
Yeah.
Like that's the most messed up part of it. It's not that they're doing it and capitalizing off of it. It's that that works.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
It seemed ridiculous like 10 years ago when they were doing like Spectre, James Bond, and it was like
right.
Heineken paid like $1 million for like a sliver of a Heineken bottle to be shown, and I was like, that's ridiculous. And now we've come to like even worse. I don't even know.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. Well, we live in interesting times, and what's kind of interesting through YouTube is they seem to be, since the shorts went longer.
Yeah.
I was growing like crazy and getting tons of views on the short side of things, and now it's almost impossible, man. Like I'll
Hmm.
put out a video that I would guarantee would have got like, 30, 40,000 views or something like that, and it'll get like 500.
Yeah.
And it's because I think they made them longer. Like they're really pushing for like longer form content on there now, which I don't think is a bad thing.
No, I like it in practice.
I like it in practice, but I also YouTube's algorithm's gotten really fucking stupid as of late.
Yeah.
Um, and because like that's one of the things I hate the most is TikTok. I use it, but I hate it because
Yeah.
their algorithm makes zero sense. One thing will pop off and get 1 million views, and then the next thing they'll block it, or you'll get like 2 views. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I mean, I could talk about this until I'm red in the face, but then I'm also part of the problem because I have no problem at like 2 a.m. I'll be on YouTube and it'll be like a 10-second video of the most ridiculous, like Oblivion NPC conversation. And I'll be like, all right, I'm watching this.
Yeah, I watch. There's one that pops up on my shorts all the time. It's just like some podcast where they're like, "Guess which food comes next without even knowing." They just rank like foods based on the
You
person's
just guess a
preference.
food.
Yeah, you just guess a food,
Can't
and I'm
knock the
like,
hustle.
and I keep watching it. And I'm like, man, I am part of the problem.
Do you ever guess the food?
Yeah, yeah. It's just like there's just so much silly shit out there. And
Uh,
it makes stuff because you and me put out like pretty well thought out. We'll write, we'll sit there and
well, it
edit.
makes me think we should stop making
I
good
know.
content. You know,
Well,
it's
dude, so like I made a like a little GIF on Instagram of the new Superman trailer, and I just replaced the music with Creed, and it got like 1 million hits. Like, and I
oh,
was like,
that's
dude, that took me
classic.
10 seconds.
Yeah, it's always the low effort fodder
Yeah,
that'll,
and I was
yeah.
like, and then the other ones, I'll spend a few hours
I'm
working
like,
on
here's
them.
a movie that broke my heart and changed my life, and it'll get like eight views.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. I'll put out like a pretty well thought out, well executed. Well, I edit it well, do all the things well. Not to toot my own horn, but then the one where I spend 10 to 20 seconds on it is the one that'll just pop off. So it
Well,
doesn't make
did the long form video have Creed in it?
no.
Well, then there you go. I think you
There you
answered
go.
your.
That's
You don't want to face the truth here, but
yeah. Well, which is funny is Creed was huge when I was in high school, and then they became kind of a laughing stock. And
yeah,
then I just read that 2024 was their biggest year ever.
they got Nickelbacked. You
They
know,
did get Nickelbacked.
yeah.
Yeah. And
I've
honestly,
said for a long time, I think Nickelback was the first meme before memes were a thing. So
really, in what sense?
I
What?
just think it was like they were on the radio and they were so popular, and then it became fun to like kind of
Hate on them.
hate on the thing that was so mainstream. It's like they kind of became a thing that everyone was listening to them,
Yeah.
but they never wanted to admit it. So they
Never.
made fun of everybody that listened to them, even though they knew all the words. And it just
Yeah.
kind of spiraled out of control. And I mean, I'm sure it didn't matter much to them. It was still money going in their pocket. But like, I swear, I think they were like the first meme, but we didn't know what memes were yet.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And I feel like Nick, Creed had their sort of like everyone hated him, but now everyone likes him again. And I see that kind of happening with Nickelback now. Some people.
yes,
I even tweeted not too long ago. I was like, is it? Do we still hate Dave Matthews Band, or is it cool to like
are we
see it
back?
happen again? Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
God. Yeah,
yeah.
it's
Anyway,
bad.
man, have you watched it? Did you watch? Oh, you watched the Don't Breathe movie this past week, right? Or
Don't
was
breathe.
it before?
Oh, yeah, last
Not Don't
breath.
Breathe.
Yeah,
Last Breath.
last
Yeah.
breath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't get a chance.
I was like, don't breathe. That's a good
Yeah.
movie too.
Yeah, that is a good movie.
Yeah, it's like the best way I was able to describe it is kind of like it's so obviously dad cinema,
Yeah.
like based on a true story, which I can't tell you how many things I've gotten my dad to watch just because he
Because of
knows it's
that.
based on a true story. Like it could be the most boring thing ever. Like guy watches paint dry and he's like, I'm not watching that shit. I'm like, but the guy actually did this. He's like, all right.
Yeah.
So it's like based on a true story, like a brave protagonist and just like themes of like redemption and
Yeah.
responsibility. And it's fine, which is actually funny. Even though I say all that, I took my dad and I liked it more than he did.
Oh, really?
But he thought it was boring. And I'm like, I'm kind of shocked by that. But it's solid. I don't, it's like, it goes back and forth because the guy, I don't know if you saw this, it was based on a documentary
Yes,
that
I
was
knew it
already
was
made.
based off the document. I heard Woody Harrelson on Joe Rogan talking about it a
Yeah.
little bit. And I
And
was like,
he, the director that did the documentary, also did this
right,
one. And so I was like, all right, well, I mean, like, you had my dad being like, why did he essentially do it twice? And I was like, well, think about it this way. Neither me nor him watched the documentary. So the fictionalized version is what got us to witness the story.
sure.
So in that regard, I get it. But, I don't think it was as intense as I was hoping. It's already a short movie and it felt drawn out.
Which
But
sucks.
it
I
is a
like that.
crazy true story though. In the there's not really any good memorable performances in it just because I've said with a movie like that, I always call it like reactive acting
Yeah.
because it's like you have good actors in it, but they're not set up to dish out memorable performances because everything is just like intense, like Woody Harrelson would be like throwing a rope or like saying, whoa, like when something blows up in like a pod near him in the submarine or something. Like they're all just reacting to a shitstorm happening around them. There's not really, of course, it won't surprise you to hear it doesn't have like an amazing script because
Right.
it's like, it's all just like, I'm sure it's all 90% of the script is like action. Like now he swims here and he
Yeah.
does this, um, but it's a solid enough time. I mean, I gave it like a 6 out of 10.
Okay.
I think it was solid enough, and I think people are
Is
enjoying
that
it.
did you revise your Sully score? Is it now out of 10?
No, I just did that for you.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
I was being kind. A 3 out of
Good
5.
guy.
Yeah, a 3 out of 5. But yeah, it's a 6 out of 10 for everybody else. It's a 3 out of 5 Sully score.
Okay.
But it's it was fine. There was literally nothing coming out this week,
Yeah.
so
That's I had a chance to go watch it on Wednesday, but I had too
yeah,
much going on, and I was like, I'll just watch that when I get. I used to just go out of my way to watch a lot of movies, but I'm kind of trying to choose a little bit
yeah,
now because I'm like, doing the content creator thing is exhausting, dude.
it is.
Yeah. I noticed with you, like, I sent you a message on Instagram and I was like, I bet he barely even gets on this thing anymore. So,
Yeah, it goes back and forth. It really does.
yeah.
You got to pick only like I try to only focus on like two social media platforms on
Yeah.
any given
Me too.
moment. And YouTube will always be one of them.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of just a revolving door. I've really been trying to get like kind of my I've been putting in the work on the back end to kind of build up a pretty cool like solo Discord server. So I'm
Oh,
like
cool.
I'm trying to do that where like I can kind of like do watch parties in it and a
Yeah.
bunch of different like fandom channels in there and
Yeah.
stuff.
I'm trying to make my focus that too with
Yeah.
like a Patreon and yeah, do watch
Yeah.
parties and
I think
I
that
was
kind of stuff's
yeah,
fun.
I wanted
So
to get some stuff built to where like I have some of my viewers maybe send in their reviews and I'll include it in mine and stuff like that. So
yeah.
Yeah,
But
well, that's cool, man.
there's too much content these days. So
There is, and the thing I like about it is at least there's like especially on Instagram because that's kind of where I grew the fastest out of all of them. Like I've had dudes who followed me since I was like, 20 followers or something like
yeah,
that. So like they chime in a lot. So I'm sure they'd love if like I just was like, hey, come over here and we'll do some of those things.
yeah.
There's one dude that like everything I do for the past 3 years, he just reaches out.
I have a couple guys that like I probably have like four or five absolute diehards, I'll call them,
Yeah,
where it's like if there's a video that I put out that they don't comment on in like the first day, I'd be like,
I'm
we need to put out a search. Like we need to like put their picture on a milk carton kind of thing.
yeah,
Which is great. And they're always like super positive dudes and always want to talk movies. So it pumps me up, honestly.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, it's like I think you end up picking up some people along the way, like doing the social media stuff where it's like you don't even realize it, but you've got a good crew that'll kind of like you become their source of is this any good or not? Should I watch it? Which is obviously been my goal for a while. So,
Yeah, yeah. Do you have anything coming up that you're about to see review?
oh, I mean, I'm pumped for Mickey 17
Yeah, me
tomorrow.
too. Yeah. Are you
Yeah,
seeing it tomorrow?
yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I'm
Um,
seeing it on
I'm
Wednesday.
I'm pumped for that, and then it's I think on Saturday I'm seeing Novocaine,
Oh, okay. Cool.
which I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I've
I
heard some
think
good things about that.
I think Jack Quaid has kind of like Ryan Reynolds himself, where he only plays the same guy, but it's like a good same guy. Like it's a
Yeah,
good shtick. So until it gets old and I start complaining about him like I now do Ryan Reynolds, I'm just gonna ride the wave.
yeah,
But
yeah.
um,
Well, it's funny because he's Dennis Quaid and Meg Ryan's kid.
right.
Yeah, I didn't know that for a little while, and I was like, yeah, he looks kind of familiar. And then I found that out. I was like, oh, that makes sense.
I think when he furrows his brow a couple times in The Boys, he looks just like Dennis Quaid.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That always said that I was like Quaid in his last. I just didn't put the two and two together,
Yeah.
but then that came out. But what'd you think of Companion?
I like it. I liked him in it. Um, I think I'm probably a little upset about the marketing.
So that's where I'm going with this question.
Yeah. But like the tough part is I mean it's been out long enough if anyone watches this, but um the tough part is that's definitely a good draw to get someone to go see it. But in the same vein, the first like 20 to 30 minutes, there's like a lot of cleverness to the script where they're clearly actively avoiding that. And I'm like, wow, like I'm actively watching it being like, wow, this is pretty smart if you didn't know
What
what
was
they
going
already
on?
revealed to me.
Yeah,
With his little like nicknames and like the commands that he gives her that you wouldn't know are commands yet. Um, and but I mean, I still enjoyed it. It's still like kind of like one of those movies where eventually it establishes itself and you know what it is, and it's kind of like all hell breaks loose until the credits roll, and I'm down for that. I think Lucas Gage has been a kid that I think has been kind of like fun to watch recently. And I want him to
yeah.
keep doing horror movies. I think I first saw him in that first season of White Lotus,
White
which is
Lotus.
so good.
Oh my god.
And
He got his teeth completely replaced since that season. I've noticed.
did he? Did he have terrible teeth? I didn't even
Well,
notice.
so if you go back and watch, I just went back and did a rewatch on the White Lotus, and
Yeah.
I noticed that they didn't look bad, but
But
now
he's got like
all of
a
it's like perfect pearly
he's
white.
got like a Chip Skylark,
Yeah,
like shiny teeth and me type thing
yep,
going on
yeah.
now.
Ross
Yeah.
when he gets his teeth whitened.
Right.
So
But yeah, no, he's been good. I want to see him do more horror movie stuff. I think Sophie Thatcher rocks,
she's
obviously, which
awesome.
which has been the general consensus.
Yeah,
I haven't watched like Yellow Jackets or anything like that,
I
but I know
haven't
people
either.
like that.
I
Yeah.
hear I need to, but I haven't had. It's just too much crap to watch, dude.
Yeah. But yeah, shitty marketing, unfortunately,
Yeah.
but a solid movie.
So that's where I'm going with that because one of the people I had on here, I was asking if she saw the trailer for 28 Years Later, and she was like, "Oh, I don't watch trailers," and I was
I
like,
actually
"You know
still
what?
haven't I actually been staying away from that. I still haven't seen it.
Well, that trailer sold me on it because
Yeah.
initially I was like, "Oh man, I'm so tired of them doing these
Like milking
legacy,
stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
these legacy sequels that come out 20 years after the last one, and then they try to retcon a bunch of shit." And I'm just
Yeah.
like, I don't care anymore. It's just that's the thing is like the cynic in me gets all curmudgeon.
Cynical.
Yeah, get off my lawn when I see this. But
Yeah.
then I saw the trailer. It's one of the best trailers I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'm sold now. And I was like, it's Danny Boyle. He's back to, I love the first 28 Days Later.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm in. But then I found out, it's part of a new trilogy, and I was also like,
Yeah, that
that kind of
that
takes
brought me
me
back
out.
down a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that was my thing because with Companion, I think I would have liked it a lot more had I not known what was happening. Because I think the thing that these movie studios is that they're so scared to release their movies now
Yeah.
that they just spoil everything in the marketing. And it happened with Captain America. Did you see that?
What with just like Red Hulk stuff and
Yeah,
like
I was like
yeah.
the whole movie. I was like the whole movie. They're building to him turning into the Red Hulk. I was like, it was
So
clearly supposed to be a moment where everyone's like, ah,
I will say the only reason I see those two scenarios differently, and this is unfair for me to say because it just is, but
budget.
um, no, I think that Companion was a smaller movie and
Right.
they were trying to get butts in seats. So they were like, hey, look, this is actually good.
Yeah.
Whereas Captain America, people were down on it
Yeah.
and they
I
were
had
just
that buzz
like,
from the
they're like,
get-go.
hey, this is kind of a shitty movie, but here's a cool part that you probably weren't expecting. And
Yeah.
they're like, all right, now let's go see it. Like, it's like in the movie landscape we're in now, where it's hard to get butts in seats. I can understand why Companion did that. They're like, no, we actually have a good movie here. Whereas Captain America Brave New World, it was like, here is a, like, I don't even remember. I can't remember what the term is. I'm like blanking on it right now. Like
Red herring?
kinda, yeah, like showing something that like showing the best part of something that like you're gonna get in there and be like, holy shit, that was only like 2 minutes of the entire movie.
Yeah.
Um, so
Yeah.
that's why I view them differently. But again, that would be you can't really be truthful about that because that would be operating under the pretense that like the people putting out the movie are like, we know this is shit, which no one, unless they were hooked up to a lie detector test, would probably admit that. So
Right.
it's a little different, but
I agree with you, but I also see it from the big wigs up top looking at it being like, well, these need to make money, so let's put the parts of the movie that's going to get butts and seats.
yeah,
And then the other aspect I don't that I think plays to both of them is that as the viewer, you're already ahead of the movie. So the whole
right,
time you're watching it, you're going, all right, well, when's this going to happen?
right,
When's this going to
yeah,
happen? And then when it happens, you're like, oh, there it happened. Okay, well, that just completely took away the element of surprise, though, that you might have had not known about had the marketing not been, especially with Captain America. I mean, the marketing was pretty much solely based around the Red Hulk.
yes. I mean,
And
he's on every poster. He had his own popcorn bucket.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and it was that was clearly like when you're watching the movie, you go, oh, they're setting up everything that leads to this moment.
yeah.
Um, and like, I didn't hate it. I know a lot of people hated it. I didn't hate it, but I was also just like, this got no juices flowing for anything MCU for me.
True or false? Ang Lee's Hulk is better than that movie.
True.
Good,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, and the problem I have with it too is like, let's just say you're kind of a normie and you've watched a few Marvel movies here and there.
Yeah,
Like you had to do so much homework. You had to watch, and I was like, it's a sequel to the 2008's Hulk, Incredible Hulk. Yet he's not in the movie.
yeah. And
But it's built.
Eternals
Yeah,
and Falcon and Winter Soldier, the show.
yeah, the show. Well, I was like,
What's
yet you
crazy
have,
is like the homework too
yeah, that's
is
what I'm
like
saying.
it's
The
not even
homework.
but it's like it's not even fun homework. Like it's not like, oh, here it's gonna piggyback off of the MCU's greatest hits. It's
Right.
piggybacking off of like 3 4 out of 10 productions.
Yep.
Like it's so it's like, oh great, that a sequel to everybody's two favorite MCU movies, The Hulk and Eternals.
Yeah.
So
And then the Winter or Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which is almost unwatchably bad.
dude, it's just like they clearly knew. They're like, we just have to link a couple things together. Like I kept describing it as like it's the MCU's version of like an anime filler episode where it's just like people have been laughing at the MCU about like, yo, when are we gonna reference this massive stone dude in the middle of the ocean? Like no one is
Yeah.
referencing that.
Yeah,
Um,
that was the redheaded stepchild of the MCU after that moment happened, and we're like,
s-
"When are we gonna address that?" That's kinda seems
so
like a big deal.
so it's just like they shoehorned it into a Captain America story to like kind of make it semi more profitable or like seem necessary. But I mean, that's what sucked about the movie. It's like Sam Wilson is a cool character and he's
Yeah.
dealing with some cool themes where it's like he won't take these, PEDs for lack of a better term to
I
make
know.
himself into a superhero, but he's got to find a way to like dig deep and be a regular dude and go up against otherworldly things anyway, but that's kind of like shoehorned and he's just dealing with two issues that he has no personal connection with because
Right.
it was two other people's movies.
Yeah.
So it's
And
just,
they basically made his character Iron Man 2.0 because, like,
yeah,
he's just,
he's just a gadget guy.
yeah, he's just a gadget guy.
Yeah.
His wings were made out of Black Panther vibranium or whatever the
Yeah.
material is that they use on there, and then yeah, and then the ending I didn't care about. The villain was like the worst, most cookie cutter villain I think the MCU has ever had.
Yeah. So I couldn't believe how much they changed his look like a couple months before. Like, I don't know if you saw it. Like,
I did.
they even had like Funko Pops out for what he was supposed to look like originally.
Oh
Like, that's
really?
how far along they were. Like, he was supposed to just be like what they look like in the comics, where he just has a huge green head.
Yeah,
He doesn't look like a walking, clove
broccoli.
of broccoli.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is too bad because I like really like Tim Blake Nelson.
Oh, me too.
I think he's one of those dudes that like, you know, sure, probably don't let him be like the lead, but like he'll always be the most interesting like side character because he kind
Yeah.
of like he's good at like playing like a weirdo or a know-it-all. And like I love I loved his dude. I loved him as Looking Glass and Watchmen.
Yes. Yes.
And he's fantastic in that. But yeah, they just kind of like didn't really give him too much to
No,
do
and
other.
even the lines that they had him delivering, I was like, man, he clearly must have just been happy with the checks that they
Dude,
cut him for that.
like they just had him like be menacing and like say like just exposition dump
Oh my
all over the
god.
movie.
Yeah,
So
I saw
like
something refer to it as Captain America or Captain Exposition. Pretty
I
much
mean
this.
that was like arguably when you come to like substance or things that are like leading up to whatever's coming next, that might be like the worst post credit scene they've done.
Oh my god. I was like, this is so ambiguous that it doesn't tell me anything about what's going to happen. It doesn't answer any
No.
questions.
And it's
It just
like
and they could I was like either it's genius or it's really really dumb because they could just piggyback off that and be like, "Oh, this is what we
this
meant
is what
by
he was
this."
talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or it's
Yes.
just going to be another one of those like with the Eternals they set
I
up
was
all
gonna
the
say, do you think we ever see Harry Styles again?
no. And then with what's his name? He was going to be the Black Knight.
Oh yeah,
What's his
Kit
name? Kit
Harrington.
Harington.
And
Yeah.
isn't also like someone that talks to him at the end off screen is Mahershala Ali, right?
Yeah, yeah, it was supposed to be
So it's like
Blade.
none of
Yeah,
that's
none of
happening,
that's happening.
which sucks because like a Mahershala Ali led Blade with like a Chad Stahelski directing,
Oh my god.
it's crazy how the movie that would so easily get me into a theater is the one that they're really like struggling with.
Well, I think it's mostly because Mahershala Ali is like, this is dog shit. I don't want to do. I don't want to put my name to this.
So I'll say this though. If the new Jurassic World isn't good,
Which it
then
doesn't.
I
I'm not convinced with that first trailer, but
then I kind of can't accept his excuse there. You know what I mean? Like if he just signed up to do another like CGI big budget crap fest, but he's arguing about the same situation in the MCU, I'd be like a
yeah,
little I don't know. I'm also on surprisingly on the other side of the fence though. I'm actually kind of excited for Jurassic World.
okay,
But I also just like I was a dino kid. I can't help myself.
yeah, I love it too, man. I mean, I remember seeing the first one in the theater when I was a kid. It was like
My
life changing.
my hot take, which is actually somehow becoming a cold take, which I'm kind of getting upset about because I like having my hot takes. But my hot take is for the longest time has been that Jurassic Park 3 is the second best entire Jurassic franchise movie.
You know
But
what? I think you're onto something there because
I,
Lost World is not good at all.
dude, I've actually have that ranked very low.
Yeah. Have you made a
Um,
ranking on those?
a very long time ago.
Okay, you
Like
should do a new one.
I'm
I
gonna
think
do a
you
new
should.
one when the next one comes out.
Yeah.
But and it worries me a little bit because I like I always forget his name. Was it Gareth Edwards?
Yeah.
I love the way his stuff looks, but I've
Yeah, but his
always
movies
thought
feel
his
kind of
movies
empty.
I've always feel like they lack substance. Like I walked out, even though I leaned positive because when you look through everything that makes up the film, some of it's pretty astounding. But I left with a pretty hollow experience from the creator.
Yeah. Yeah, that movie was like all about AI, and I was like, it kind of feels like how I feel about AI, if that makes any
It's
sense.
one of those movies where it's probably not healthy to put this amount of pressure on the movie, but I walked into that expecting to be like, this is gonna be like a 4.5 out of 5 at least.
Right.
Like I'm so sure this is gonna rock. And I left kind of being like, uh luckily the buddy I was with like felt the same way. So we were kind of just like, what
Yeah, no,
happened?
I felt the same way. I think I liked probably the first 2/3 of the movie. I thought the third act was really its weakest link. Because
Yeah.
it set up a really cool world. He barely, I mean,
None of
the
it's
scope of,
explained.
yeah, the big scope of things, he barely spent any money on that movie, and it looks fantastic.
Yeah, it looks
Uh,
incredible.
but then, yeah, at the end, it was just everything kind of felt rushed. Nothing's explained, and then you don't really have the emotional appeal that you needed in order for a lot of that stuff to work.
I'm also like, I feel like I'm becoming less convinced of John David Washington, unfortunately.
Yeah,
Like I was full steam ahead with Tenet,
yeah, me too.
and now I feel like I'm pulling back a little bit. But
Yeah, I'm
um,
curious where his career goes because he doesn't seem like he has a whole lot of things I'm looking forward to
I
lined
mean, has
up.
he had like a legit hit?
Well, I know he was in Black Klansman. He got nominated for that.
Right, and that's a really good movie.
Yeah, yeah, that was a good movie.
And like Tenet didn't really have a chance to make a ton of money
No,
because
it
that was
came out like
pandemic,
peak
right?
COVID. Yeah,
Yeah.
came out like
So
right in the heart. I think it was like the first movie in the theaters since COVID started.
realistically, in a world where that didn't happen, that should be his biggest hit.
Right.
Um, but
I know, but man, Tenet is like just the most polarizing Nolan film. Some people just love it,
yeah,
and they're just all things Tenet, and other people are like, it's the biggest piece of dog shit that
I
Nolan's.
don't love it, but I think people that say it's stupid are stupid.
I agree with you. I think it's one of the. I think I appreciate that movie the most out of Nolan's, but I think it was also like he wrote himself. I think he overwrote that movie to the
Well,
point where like even the actors didn't understand what was happening.
I think you're right. Like I think it's one of those movies that you appreciate more than enjoy.
Right. Yep.
And like I'm assuming you've seen it cuz you're probably chronically online like I am. It's one of those
Yeah.
things where someone was interviewing Nolan about it. And it's one of my favorite things because Nolan is always squeaky clean, like never says anything out of turn, is like super thoughtful with his responses. So the crowd went wild when the guy asked him, he's like, you're making movies like Tenet, Inception, Prestige. Like, you ever thinking to yourself while you're writing these things, I should make this a little bit more simple because the audience might not totally understand it. And Nolan was like, yeah, I mean, sometimes it's just like, fuck it. And it was like the whole crowd erupted because
Yeah.
no one was ever expecting an answer like that out of him. But it's like, it cracks me up. Like I actually love watching interviews with him because there does seem like sometimes where he's always so serious, but it does seem like he's about to like crack up at some of
Yeah.
this stuff because he definitely enjoys the persona that people have placed on him.
Yeah, he does. He
But
does.
God, I cannot wait for that Odyssey
Odyssey.
movie.
Oh,
My
dude.
goodness,
No.
dude.
What a cast. And that's what I was talking about with the guy I had on last week. He was like, yeah, he's like his channel's all about horror and stuff, but
Yeah.
he's like anything that
Oh
comes.
yeah, you had Matt on, right?
Yeah, yeah. If you
Yeah,
talk
he's a
about,
good dude. Yeah,
yeah,
I like him.
he's a really, really good guy.
Yeah.
Really good guy, really, really knowledgeable when it comes to the film, and he's surprisingly like he's super into sports.
Yeah.
So we were talking a lot about like the NBA and NFL and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But he was like, he's like, there's not a lot of things that regular movies that come out that I really. He's like, I'm starting to dip my toes into like reviewing just regular movies. But he, but he was like, Nolan's that one dude that like I see his name up there, I'm instant like I'm day one at the movie theater.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I was like, that's why I respect him so much. I was like, because that dude hates all things streaming. He refuses
Yes.
to shoot on anything but film. He hates CGI. He really only uses it for like, atmospherically and things of that nature.
Which is
So
what makes Odyssey way more interesting since he's the guy doing it.
yep,
Like I
yeah,
cannot wait to just be sitting there in an IMAX screen being left thinking like how did he do that?
yeah,
There's so many other times where I'll watch it and I'll be like, okay, but this is obviously CGI because I know it's from a director that loves CGI. But like
right.
with him and then seeing what's in front of me, knowing that it's probably done practically somehow or some kind of trickery, that makes him being the guy leading this much more exciting.
Yeah, that was like when I watched Oppenheimer, and he was like, "I used zero CGI in this," and I was like, there were some parts where I was like, "Really, you didn't use CGI for that?"
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like a CGI heavy movie, and I think he's the only director that can make a 3 hour movie that's mostly, you know, a court based drama essentially. That compelling, you know. You're not. I wasn't. I know some people are like it's boring, but I was like, I was into every single thing that was happening. I wasn't sitting there checking my watch like I do with a lot of movies that I sit.
Yeah.
Like The Brutalist, I must have checked my watch 300 times. I still love the movie.
Yeah.
I still thought it was a really solid movie, but there's a lot of that movie that you could have easily cut out of.
I still
Uh,
stand by the take that, you know, Oppenheimer is just so immaculately made. But I do think for me personally, it might end up being the least rewatchable Chris Nolan movie.
that's interesting. Okay.
I
Yeah.
there are so many
Yeah.
others in his catalog, like Interstellar, Memento,
Yeah.
Prestige, like Inception. There are so many that I would rather watch again, even if
Yeah.
I hold Oppenheimer in a very high regard.
Yeah. I think that's actually probably a pretty good point. I've seen it a few times because
Yeah, I've seen it
saw it.
twice.
I saw it at the critic screener, and then I brought my wife to see it because I don't know if your wife's this way, but my wife is just not into movies like you or me are. So
Not like us.
yeah,
Yeah, definitely
yeah. So
not. Yeah.
my wife's very simple. She likes what she likes, and I know what she likes. So
Yeah.
you know,
Makes it
I
easy.
yeah. So if I see a movie where I'm like, man, I love that, but my wife would hate that
Yeah.
movie. She's not a horror movie fan, you know, and I love horror movies, so I'll always go to that. And that's why
Yeah.
me and Matt were actually talking about that last week because he was like, my wife hates horror movies, and so I always try to get her to. He's like, I got to do like certain things in order for her to see one, and I was like, yeah, my wife is like, you know, she's Mexican, so she has like that traditional Mexican voodoo crap that like, you know, she feels like, like some spiritual forces watching her or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I always laugh about it. I'm like, you know, sometimes people look way too much into movies, and it's just a silly little dumb movie that somebody had while they were like having a coffee, and an idea just hit them in the head.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
there's not everything needs to be a conspiracy,
No.
but yeah, all right, man. Well, hey, let's move on to what I brought you. You and me could do
Yeah.
this all day. Like
Dude, it's bad. Like
I know.
it's good and it's bad.
Yeah, I was talking to you know Marta.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I had her on, and I brought you up, and I was like, you know, with her, like we have a good relationship, but
Stay on track.
it's stay on track. Like we
Yeah.
sidebar a little bit, but then we talk about what we need to talk about. And I was like, whenever I bring Sully on, I was like, we could honestly do like a 5 hour podcast,
Yeah.
you know, live stream. And just look at it and be like, damn, we've been doing this for 5 hours because we're just talking about because I think we're pretty similar minded when it comes to
Dude,
things.
it's funny though, because what'll happen is like I have a good buddy that I end up doing this with all the time too, where he'll FaceTime me, nothing to do with movies,
Yeah.
and I'll check the clock and it'll be like 3 hours later, and we're somehow talking about like Mark Wahlberg's like Max Payne movie or something like that no one has even seen for
Yeah.
10 years. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, dude, I keep checking my clock. I'm like, no, dude, like you don't understand. Like I have to hang up. Like I have to go.
I get that, dude. So one of my really good buddies, you know, we're middle aged. We got kids and
You're
stuff.
not middle aged. Give me a break, bro. You
Well,
can't
hey,
say that
man,
because like you're like less than a decade older than me. So if you're middle aged, that means I'm creeping. So you
you're
can't say
creeping,
that.
brother.
No,
You're
you can't say
creeping,
that.
brother. I mean, you know, if you multiply me by two, I'll be 80.
So that's my thing. I
yeah.
plan on living a very long time, so I won't
Okay.
be middle aged until I'm like 60, 70.
Okay, I like it.
So
I
yeah,
like where your head's at. I like
yeah,
where your head's at. But anyway, you know, we got wife, kids, you know,
yep,
family stuff outside of this, and he's, he's just a regular Joe Schmo. But when we were in high school, we've been buddies forever. But when we were in high school, we'd sit outside till 5 in the morning just talking about movies.
Yep. Yeah.
And so we still kind of have that. We have a thread on our text messages called the Bat Thread. We
Yep.
talk all thing comic books with a few other guys. But one time, like maybe 10 years ago, we did like a Batman the animated series watch along, and we went through because if that the way those episodes come down are the way they were aired, but what the actual order is all mixed up. It's all jumbled up. So you have to go through and watch them
Mm.
specifically. Like online, you can find a bunch of hey, watch this episode, then this episode.
I actually love. I do have like a secret addiction to diving into shit like that and like finding watch guides.
Yeah.
Like I do love that.
Yeah. So Batman the animated series, if you ever do go back and watch it, go get one of those watch guides because the way it's laid out is completely wrong. Anyway,
Sidebar, I've seen a criminally low amount of that show, which I know
Really?
is I know, which is like really bad.
see, so I was a kid. I was like, my stepson's age when that show came out. So I
Yeah.
remember like getting home from school and watching an episode of that and Gargoyles. So yeah, it was like I grew up watching that show.
I feel like when I was growing up, like so I was born in 94.
Okay.
So a lot of it was like I was all comedies, all animated comedies all the time. So it's like I would come home and everything was like SpongeBob, Jimmy Neutron, Fairly Odd Parents, Courage the Cowardly Dog. Like I actually have had like a big revival thing where I've gone back and watched a ton of stuff that I think I probably should have watched.
Yeah.
Like growing up, like during when the pandemic started, every single series, like 700 episodes, I watched everything Dragon Ball.
Okay.
And because I like anime, but it's like one of those things where I almost couldn't tell people I liked anime if they knew that I didn't watch the like foundational stuff. They're like, oh, you can't say that you're watching this new stuff if you haven't watched like Dragon Ball and stuff. So I did like all of that. But yeah, no, I kind of like feel like I missed out. Like all my cousins that were a little bit older than me were all Batman animated series, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like all that stuff that I kind of like by like a few years feel like I missed.
Yeah. And if you go back and watch Batman the animated series now, I think you probably have a pretty. It probably wouldn't impact you as much, but I think you have a great appreciation for it because it was so stylized. It was written really well. It was like it took some of Tim Burton's world and mixed it in with Paul Dini and Bruce Timm's world. So it kind of has this retro, not even futuristic. It has. Did you watch the Cape Crusader one, the J.J. Abrams one? Because they kind of stole that palette as far as how it looks.
I did not watch that.
That series it's not good.
I'm actually like looking up like most popular 90s cartoons now because
yeah, let's see. You probably had
big Dexter's Laboratory guy.
Oh yeah, Dexter's Laboratory was great. Gargoyles was awesome. Let's see what else did
I never watched Gargoyles. All right, hold on. I'm going all the way down to
I love it.
Number 1 here ranked.
Are you able to share your screen from this or no?
I don't know.
Yeah. I don't
Let
know.
me see. Hold on. Let me see. I'm trying.
There's like a little share button at the bottom. I don't know if that works for you.
Oh, let's see. Did that work?
Yep. Look at that.
It worked. Yeah, I know what I'm doing, I guess. Some of these, it's like, okay.
Yeah, of course. Oh, Batman's number 1, huh?
Number 3.
Oh, number 3.
I'm going from 1 up.
One up. What was number 1?
It was South Park.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, I know you love South Park.
Yeah, I've actually haven't seen a ton of it. I've seen like the greatest hits. You know what I mean? Like I've looked. It's kind of what I did with The Simpsons, where I'm like, show me the best 50 episodes, and I'll like watch that.
Okay.
Never saw an episode of Daria.
Yeah, Daria was never my jam. X-Men.
Yeah, I like X-Men. Love Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Yep.
Huge fan. SpongeBob, of course. Could make the argument that that's number 1 on my personal list.
Yeah, I know you're a big fan. I saw the Plankton movies coming out.
I can't, dude. I can't.
I think I tweeted at you. I was like, I need to see your pitchfork.
I didn't even request a screener. I didn't even request it. I'm like, I can't do this.
Yeah, you can't soil my beloved SpongeBob any further.
No.
Did you watch Animaniacs?
I didn't watch like it was almost one of those things where if it came on after I was watching something, I wouldn't turn it off.
Right, but you never got
But
into
I
it.
never was sitting down looking for it. I actually probably watched more Pinky and the Brain than I
Pinky and the Brain was
watched.
great.
Yeah.
It was
Hey
great.
Arnold, solid.
Yeah, that was good. Beavis and
Beavis
Butthead,
and
I love that.
Butthead. Yeah, Beavis and Butthead. Rugrats was big.
Yeah, Ren and Stimpy was
I
great.
didn't watch much Red and Stimpy. I didn't watch much Doug.
I love Doug.
I watched some Powerpuff Girls.
I watched it because my sister loved it, and then my daughter got into it when she was little.
I always, you can't mess with Mojo Jojo.
Yeah.
Real Monsters is all right.
Yeah.
It wasn't my favorite.
Yeah.
Watched almost no
Oh,
Futurama.
dude, Futurama, the first 4 seasons are like my favorite.
I've
King of the
only
Hill,
seen the Smush Smush episode.
okay. Oh,
Or
yeah, that one's
Snoo Snoo, whatever it
Snoo
was.
Snoo,
Yeah, yeah.
when they go to the Amazonian women.
Yes.
King of the Hill is my jam, dude. That's being from Texas. That's
I don't think I've seen a single episode
go back
of
and watch
King
it.
of the.
I promise you.
Okay.
You'll love that. That show is brilliant.
I like Ed, Ed, and Eddie.
Yep.
I didn't mind Angry Beavers. That
I
was
never
all
got
right.
into Angry Beavers that much.
Didn't watch any Gargoyles.
I love that show.
I watched a decent bit of Rocco's Modern Life.
Yep, my sister loved that show.
Didn't really watch any Captain Planet.
Yeah, dude, I watch that all the time.
I feel like I'm still missing something though. How do I unshare this? Oh, here we go.
Yeah, just press stop sharing.
I gotta look again because I think that there's like some pivotal, like instrumental cartoon
Simpsons,
that I'm
obviously.
forgetting
I'm
about.
surprised they didn't put that on the list. I guess maybe they were.
If I change it to 2000s, because technically I was 6 when 2000 hit, it's like Avatar: The Last Airbender, Jimmy Neutron,
Yep.
Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy.
That was all your jam.
Yeah, Invader Zim, loved Invader Zim.
Yeah, Invader Zim was great, man.
Yeah, there's some good 2000 stuff. But yeah, all right. So I see. Look, I completely sidetracked us again. Like you're like, all right, let's get back to the Oscars, and I'm like,
man,
well,
you know,
let's.
Maybe people that watch will like it.
Well, you're like, let's get to the Oscars. And I'm like, but first, let's talk about every '90s cartoon.
We're good with that.
I know, yeah. But all right, I'm ready to get
right,
back
so
on track after an hour and a half.
I get it, man. Let's see. What do we got here? I got the live. Yeah, here we go. All right. Now we see that. All right, cool.
You've been looking at the betting markets at all?
Yeah, actually, you know what? Let's pull that one up. I had that pulled up instead. That's probably a better way to gauge because people are actually putting their money down.
It's also just hysterical that that's kind of like what this has become.
Oh, I know, dude. I saw an article. I was reading an article the other day about just what a problem.
Everyone's got a gambling addiction.
Everyone's gambling on everything now.
Yeah.
It's like, do you watch Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
I've seen enough, but that's one that I really need to go back and watch.
You
but
should, man. That's probably my favorite show of all time.
Yeah.
I've seen it the most out of any live action comedy series for sure. But there's one where like they think where Dennis and Mac think that Frank is restricting their freedom at their bar, so they try to make it as free as possible. And he brings in like these Vietnamese guys, and they start like gambling underneath the ground. And so every little thing, it was just like, "Do you want to bet on that?" So
everything's
like,
gambling centric.
Everything's gambling, and so I was like, "This is what this is turning into." It's
yeah,
like
literally.
everything is gambling. So, all right. So I got this. Kalshi. So this is the one that's. So I guess what's the other big one? The one that everyone uses for like the election.
Is it like Poly Market?
Poly Market, yeah.
Yeah.
You can't bet in America on that one for whatever reason. I'm not sure what.
We got VPNs.
We got VPNs,
yeah.
but Kalshi is you can.
Yeah.
Kalshi. So I pulled up the one that we can do here in the States, and so it looks like Anora is the best one.
I mean, is it as simple with betting this? Like, it's like, say that I bet on a movie that had a 1% chance of winning, and that wins. Do I get 100x my money? Because it's like, oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, it's an odds based thing. So
perfect.
Look, this is the pot. This is the purse.
That's
right
wild.
$5 million.
That is wild, dude.
So I almost threw down some cheddar on this too, but I was like, I can't.
Yeah, I might do a last minute. Do you have to buy it? Can you just buy it with like U.S. currency, or does it have to be crypto?
No. Kalshi's America. So
perfect.
You could buy it. You could do your PayPal or whatever.
Oh my God, they have parlays underneath the Brutalist. That's hysterical, dude. That is hysterical.
They show us.
Oh,
But yeah,
that's funny.
yeah, pay out if parlay wins, and then you can. I guess you
All
can.
right, I might have to throw in a couple before this. Before when does it start? 8.
Yeah, 8 year time. 8 year
Yeah,
time.
yeah, I might need to do a little.
So Enora looks like it dropped 8%, and Conclave's gone up 16. Brutalist has lost
Yeah, I
6.
think it'll probably still end up being Honora.
I think so too. So yeah, I was actually gonna. We can do our.
I think Conclave would kind of be an interesting pick, just in the sense that I think I was reading, what was it, like the first, it would be like the first PG movie in like 4 decades to win Best Picture if it won.
That's interesting. What was the last
I
one? Do you
think the
remember?
last one was Driving Miss Daisy,
Oh, okay. Wow.
which
And then
was
everyone's
forever
like, "How
ago.
did that movie win Best Picture?" It's like,
Right?
yeah,
Yeah, wait, let me look at that. Yeah, PG 1989.
Driving
Yeah,
Miss Daisy. Yeah.
yep.
'Cause then the year after that was Dances with Wolves, which everyone was like, "Goodfellas should have won that one." Which is
Yeah.
funny though, because I put out a review last year of Kevin Costner's new Western epic,
Yeah.
Horizon, and I shit on it. And man, people and like my opening little hook was, I don't think as a society we've ever fully recovered with Goodfellas, with Dances
Yeah.
with Wolves beating out Goodfellas, and like the amount of comments I got of people that are just like Dances with Wolves is, blah, 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 and I was like, wow. I was like, you can't even make jokes on the internet anymore.
I feel like I'm saying this constantly on this stream right now, but I also have not seen Dances with
Oh,
Wolves.
really? I mean, it's a
Yeah.
great movie, man. But
I've
like,
actually seen a criminally low amount of Costner movies, I think.
interesting. Have you ever seen Waterworld?
Haven't seen Waterworld
That's
either.
hilarious.
Yeah.
I'd be so interested to hear on your Mad Max on the water take on that
Yeah,
movie.
I might need to watch that.
Yeah, it's
It was
that
super
movie's,
expensive and it flopped,
yeah,
right?
flop big time. And I
Yeah.
think at the time the movie cost like $60 million, which was unheard of back then,
Yeah.
which is hilarious
Yeah.
nowadays. But yeah, and then because the guy who directed it, it was Kevin something, I can't remember his name, but he and Kevin Costner made the Robin Hood Prince of Thieves, and then that
Mhm.
movie just essentially they hated each other afterwards. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, so it looks like Anora's up there. 65% is pretty high. So
That's high.
that's
I
that's
think
pretty high.
this
People
has
putting
been
all this money.
interesting though, just in the sense of it has to probably be one of the most interesting paths to it getting there. Like if you're someone that's kind of watching all the different award ceremonies and kind of crunching numbers, like it'll go full award ceremonies where it wins absolutely everything, and then full award ceremonies where it gets completely skunked.
Yeah,
So I think all the people smarter than me are saying that it's pretty, they'd be surprised if it was a result other than Honora,
yeah,
but everyone is admitting it's just a 2 horse race, like it's Honora or Conclave.
yeah. I agree. Well, what's funny is if you go to where I had the Vanity Fair pulled up, I can pull that up real fast. Um, I wish on this app that you could just like switch to to a different screen.
Yeah.
But
what's
this one says that Honor is at 40%.
what's crazy is, don't you think there was a part, like there was a point in time before the end of the, or like right in January, where, but other AI news came out, whatever, bunch of other stuff came out, other movies were getting praised and everything, but in January I feel like someone would have told you were certifiably insane if you said that Brutalist wasn't winning Best Picture.
Yeah, yeah. I felt that way. And then the Golden Globes happened, and I was like, I don't know. I think Emilia Perez could walk away with all 13
I
Academy
can't even
Award.
imagine, dude. What do
I
you
saw your
think,
video on that, and I was like, Sully, you're so on point. What a
dude?
piece of unbelievable dog shit that
That
movie
was
is.
such a fun video to make too, though, where it was like, how can I shit on this movie without really talking about the controversial topics? Where I
Yeah.
was like, I don't really want to get into it
So
or get anything
I had
political.
Jamie Holmes on, and she was she was like she's like a musical theater, like she does vocal lessons, like big singer or whatever. And she goes that movie's offensive, and not for just like what people a part of that movie have said, with the director basically like, oh, I didn't cast any Mexican actors because there are no good Mexican actors.
Oh my god, yeah,
or
no, that was such a bad quote.
or what do you say? Spanish is a poor person's language. I was like,
Yes.
oh my god, dude. But she was like, it's so offensive because anybody who tells me that that's a good musical is out of their fucking mind. Like the songs are terrible.
Yeah.
Nobody hits any of the proper notes. The music sucks. She's like, it's like offensively offensive to like
Yes.
musical people. And I was like, yeah, I was like, outside of everything else that people seem to be offended by with this movie, I was like, I was just offended that anyone told me that this was a good movie. That's where I stand.
So what I've said for a little bit is with the way this kind of goes, and you were talking about like Hollywood virtue signaling and other people not even watching the movies that they're voting on and kind of just like checking a box, and like Amelia Perez is like checking a box the movie.
Yep.
And I think that this would never happen just by practice, but if we hypothetically lived in a world where, say, the Oscar picks were like the Oscar nominations were announced and
Mhm.
the Oscar ceremony was a week later, only a week later, I think Amelia Perez could have easily won every single
Yep.
thing it was nominated for.
Yeah.
Because it didn't have enough time to marinate the public outcry, and like that made people like me. I didn't even watch it, but because it was nominated for the second most nominations ever, I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, all right, I'll go check it out.
As many as Oppenheimer beating out the Lord of the Rings and fucking Ben-Hur,
But it's
as
like
many as Gone with the Wind. You're out of your mind.
I plant my flag on Hollywood's so out of touch, and they knew what they wanted to vote for just by the summary of the movie.
Yep.
That if the Oscars, like I said, it just doesn't make any sense because you want to give time to like let people go see stuff. But like if we lived in a world where the Oscars were a week after the announcement of the nominees, Amelia Perez could easily have won all 13 nominations.
I agree. And what's funny about that is like it's clearly a Hollywood virtue signaling movie, and it kind of I don't know if you remember this story. You're probably pretty young when it was happening, but the Harvey Weinstein basically winning Shakespeare in Love over Saving Private Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially like everybody was like Saving Private Ryan is like it had 99% chance that it was going to win Best Picture, and I mean at the end of the day, which movie are you watching, Saving Private Ryan or
Right.
Shakespeare in Love?
Yeah.
But
Shakespeare in Love.
yeah, of course. But Harvey Weinstein was doing all these back end deals. He was like paying people off, and like he really promote like heavily was
Is that all
behind.
confirmed? Like, was he just like
Yeah,
going out of his way, going
yep,
nuts?
yep,
Yeah.
going nuts, basically
Wow.
threatening people, paying people off, all this stuff, and
And it did win, right?
yeah, it won Best Picture,
Yeah.
and so that was kind of having this feeling to me because a lot of people I talked to were getting all kinds of garb from Netflix for Amelia Perez.
Oh yeah. I've
Posters.
seen the boxes. Like I
Yeah,
saw the merch boxes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, Sean Chandler, when I had him on, he did a live unboxing of like all the stuff they sent him, and, and he
It's
was
actually
like,
really
"Look
funny.
at this! It's a poster that I can hang up." And he was wearing his shirt and like all this stuff. And it was like, yeah, man, they went hard on the paint for like critics to really like this movie. Uh,
Yeah.
but
I
what's
do I do think if people have a good sense of humor, I do think actually now looking back like on everything that's happened the last few months, I do think an Amelia Perez shirt would be really funny.
yeah, it would be
But
funny.
yeah.
Yeah, like ironically funny.
Yes.
But the thing that I find so interesting about that movie is like, yeah, clearly there's a trans actress in the
Mhm.
movie, but the whole story is that she gets that disguise because she's trying to hide from
Right.
authorities. So
Correct. Correct.
it's like goes in the complete opposite direction of what they're
All
actually
right.
trying to say in that movie.
I will say though, one small positive I will say about that film that I didn't realize or I just was impressed with. And my mother was going through all the best picture nominees. She does this with one of her friends every year. And so we actually had like a pretty funny running joke about it because she was doing Dry January
Uh-huh.
and she hadn't seen Amelia Perez yet. And she was telling her friend she's not watching Amelia Perez until she can drink wine during it. But something that she picked up on, and usually me and her on the exact same wavelength. They're really good at like recognizing people or saying someone looks like someone else, whatever.
Right.
I did not realize that Carla Sofia Gascon also plays the male drug dealer.
Yep.
I actually didn't clock that at all.
Really?
And which I thought like, and that's something that me and my mom would easily be like, oh, that's definitely got to be her, but it completely slipped by me. So I actually was impressed by that.
Okay.
I'll give it like 1 more percent out of 100
Yeah.
approval rating for that. But
Did you find it ironic that the plot of that movie was essentially Mrs. Doubtfire?
Yeah, it's like Mexican drug cartel Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yeah, made by some sort of auteur, you know.
It is wild when you compare it like that because there is that whole plot point about custody of the children.
Custody of the
So
children.
yeah,
That was what kind of threw it through the made me realize that. I was like, oh
God,
my god,
dude,
this is the same plot as Mrs. Doubtfire.
that movie.
Dude, it's something else. And
It's like
those
if
songs, I mean, you know that one song that just went super viral, especially
oh
on
yeah,
Twitter. I showed my wife it because I actually saw the movie way before that was going viral. I saw it like early on, I think when it first came out, and I was like, oh, this is just another shitty Netflix movie.
yeah,
I didn't think twice about it, and then it
yeah.
started getting all this buzz, and I was like, they watched the same movie. That's not the same movie, right? But then that clip went out, and I showed it to my wife, and she was like, "That's parody, right? Like they're making fun of it." I was like, "No,
SNL.
no,
Yeah.
that's a legit song in the movie."
Because
She's
that's
like,
what I
"Oh, wow."
said. Because I showed it to some of my buddies that hadn't seen it yet, and they were like, "This is pretty funny," and I'm like, "It would be if they weren't completely playing it straight.
Yeah,
Like it's not in there intended for laughs. The rest of the movie is not a comedy.
no, not even.
Like it's just
It's not funny parts
so
of that movie at all.
it's just so out of pocket.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
it doesn't make any
so
sense.
so out of pocket.
I don't understand. Like I don't understand. I also don't understand how everyone kept just like a straight face while they
I
were
don't either,
singing
man.
that.
I mean,
But
they went out of pocket in a lot of stuff in that movie.
the one thing I feel bad about that film though is like I actually think Zoe Saldana puts out like a solid
She's
performance there.
fantastic in the movie. That was
And
what I took away from it when I first saw it. I was like, damn, she was great in
and
that
I
movie.
do feel bad
No
for
reason.
her that like there's always going to be like an asterisk next to this movie because it had so much controversy. But I've been saying for a while that like before I saw the movie and just knew it was coming out and that she was kind of leading it. I mean, let's be honest, she is the lead actress.
Right.
But I was happy for her in the sense that she makes so many like profitable blockbuster films, but she never makes any profitable blockbuster films where she looks like herself.
That's
Like
true.
she's always Gamora or she is a Navi in Avatar. Like so she's
Yeah.
never herself.
Yeah.
And
That's
so I'm like, oh, okay, this is like gonna be a hit. It's Oscar nominated. She looks like Zoe Saldana. And it's just plagued with
It
controversy.
really is, man. That movie should be like a 101 of what not to do
It
with a
almost makes
movie.
you think like, are they getting media trained on the side where it's
Well, that's
like,
I was actually gonna bring that point up. I was like, how do you make this movie and then, give it all these accolades and not do like somewhat of a background search on what people are
like it,
tweeting, who's in your main
but is
cast?
she still front runner for supporting actress? She is,
I
right?
think
Like
she is.
far.
I think it's her and Ariana Grande are like neck and neck.
Oh
Let's
my
pull a
God,
little.
dude, the Kalshi has Zoe. It's 90%.
Oh, really?
So,
Let's
and it
pull it
keeps
up.
it keeps going up.
Let's pull it up. Yeah, then that. I mean, it's getting close to showtime, so they'll probably have a little bit
But
more.
so it's one of those things that I'm wondering, like, there's been so much controversy. Do you need to comment on it? Like, are you
Right.
like, hey, thank you for this award? Like, I don't stand for any of the stuff that's been going on about around this, but like, thank you.
Oh, damn, they got Isabella Rossellini at 6%.
Dude, look at that. The race hasn't been close in months on this.
Yeah, let's see. Right here, it was like tie. It was like neck and neck. Wow, since November, but I guess it hasn't been close.
I will say, just as like a numbers game, I think I would be kind of not disappointed, but whatever's one level above disappointed of like Rossellini, I felt like was in the movie for like 5 minutes.
So that was my big. I was actually surprised to see her nominated because I mean she's great in it, but I was like, you blink and you miss her in that movie.
Like in my eyes, it's like Rossellini isn't in this enough to even be considered a supporting actress, and Zoe Saldana isn't either for the opposite reason. Like she should be
She should
lead
have been the
actress.
main. Yeah, she should have been the main
Um,
of that movie.
I do think it was a pretty strategic point though, where it's like, I mean, you look at this. Are you able to pull? Is it just show the top three, or does it show everybody in this?
Let's see.
It might not, but
Might not. I don't think so.
but
At least on this.
this would go down as like a extremely strategic move where it's like probably wouldn't have got a great chance of winning in the
Oh, here you go.
there you go.
Felicity Jones.
Probably wouldn't have had a great chance of winning in the lead actress race this year. But
Right.
like, I mean, you look at these numbers right now, like it clearly is paying off. Like, hey, Netflix is going to want this because she gets an Oscar. She's going to want this because she gets an Oscar. Like, none of that would be happening if she was in the lead.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And you know what's funny? Did you? So this is a solely hot take here, but
Oh, let's go.
I obviously Emilia Perez is at the very bottom of the list. I put Conclave like right next to it. I really didn't like that movie.
Oh,
At
damn.
all. I didn't think it was very good.
So I like Conclave, but I think it really, and I don't know how like expertly you remember the movie, but I saw it pretty recently. But
Nice.
I think it really jumped the shark, so to speak, once the window exploded.
Yep.
After that, it kind of became like soap opera. Like it was like a completely different tone and kind of.
So that's exactly what I said about the movie. I said it feels like a daytime soap opera. Like
Yeah,
everything
like
plays out in that movie.
I remember having one of those experiences where I was watching the movie, and up until that window exploded, I was actively, repeatedly saying to myself, like, this is really good.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
then,
no, you know what? You might be onto something, but I think it really took me out of that movie, like towards the end. And then some of I think one of the main issues I had with that movie, which is happening so much with movies now, people don't even realize it. But every character in there was just an unbelievably self-absorbed sack of shit.
so
I don't care about any of these characters.
for some reason that worked for me. I agree with you, but for some reason that worked for me in this setting with like a bunch of guys like vying to be Pope, like that,
Yes.
like for some reason, like guys vaping and stuff like that, like that setting for some reason, I think the daytime soap opera thing works in that. But that's just
that's a fair
me
point.
personally. Like I almost looked at it as like a ridiculous piece of media, not like judging it like a Oscar, touted film.
Right.
Like I actually think it's a lot more entertaining than people were expecting.
Yeah, Emilia Perez is at less than 1%, by the way.
I'd say we hammer that.
Yeah.
I'm putting the mortgage.
Put it all in on
I'm
that.
putting the mortgage on that. I'm actually surprised though that go back up to the graph here. Oh, it only shows the top 3. I wanted to see, like, I really think for a little bit there,
it had to be, right?
there was a complete unknown like narrative there for a little bit where it was like
interesting to me.
Where it was like, hold on, Chalamet's actually winning stuff. Like, are we looking at a complete unknown Best Picture? But obviously,
I wouldn't agree with that. I mean, I liked the movie, but
I liked it.
I didn't think it was the best of the year. But
I liked
I think
it.
last time I had you on, you told me that 2024 was probably some of the worst you'd seen in.
I think my take was 2024 is the worst year for film in the last decade, not counting COVID years.
Yeah.
I really think it's like I only had like there's only 2 movies I had ranked above a 4 out of 5 the entire year. And there was only like 10 movies I had ranked above a 3.5 out of 5. So that's a 7 out of 10 for the Chris score. But yeah, it was a bad year for film. I think. I actually think this year is already proven to be better. Like I already have more movies.
Off to a better start, but man, like the one that I was most disappointed in, just because of the dude's filmography behind the director's chair, is Flight Risk was just such a piece of shit.
Yeah, I didn't even watch that one
dude,
actually.
I was like, Mel Gibson's one of my favorite filmmakers. I mean, I even used the South Park clip in there where it's like, say what you will about Mel Gibson, but son of a bitch, no story structure.
Yeah.
It's like, Braveheart, The Passion.
Well, hold on. I actually think I've said this is just like a live stream of hot takes at this point, but my favorite war movie of all time is Hacksaw Ridge.
Hacksaw Ridge is phenomenal, dude.
Yeah.
That was his last movie that he directed.
Crazy.
So when I saw this, I was like, cool. But then when I was watching the movie, I was like, was this written entirely by AI?
Bald Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, it goes back to what we were talking about. Like the dialogue in it was so embarrassingly bad that I couldn't believe Mel Gibson put his name to that movie. It was.
Is it worse than Captain America?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I gave it a worse review.
Yeah. Captain America is my worst of the year so far, but I actually think that's a little unfair because I actually just haven't seen any like steaming pile of crap, like really steaming pile of crap, but it is currently my worst.
Flight Risk is up there. I saw something. I mean, January obviously is January going January.
Yeah.
But I'd have to go back and look. I can't even remember what.
I'm telling you, dude, you should watch those Najah movies. They are good, dude.
Okay. Yeah. Can you find them in the States?
First one is free on YouTube.
Okay.
You can just watch it. The next one is like
they'll probably get a release here in the States, I'm assuming.
Well, I saw it in a theater a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
So,
like on DVD or streaming or
oh
something.
yeah, yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. I mean, especially now knowing it's about to make 2 bill, like
Yeah, it's
they'll, I'm sure
crazy.
they'll. But if you can, I would say go and see that on a big screen.
Is it like Jap or it's not Chinese mythological? I have no idea what
Yeah.
it's about.
It's Chinese mythology. It's based on this 1600s novel. Like if you know like Journey to the West at all
Yeah.
about like Wukong and stuff, like it's the other story. So like that's
Oh,
one
okay.
famous story. There's the other one. And I'm telling you though, like I was the only white dude in a packed theater. Wouldn't have wanted it any other way because like that's exactly the type of experience I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And um the animation at the end, it's just like Hollywood should be nervous if that's the output. Because
Yeah.
the visuals are unbelievable. Like it
And
was
then, dude,
like
for everything that I've seen, the movie looks beautiful.
it was like 3D Dragon Ball Z mixed with Shang-Chi, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's like it'll definitely be on my most underrated of the year list, even though I gave it a very high rating solely because I know not a lot of people will have seen it.
Yeah. So the worst this year, I'd put You're Cordially Invited.
Yeah.
Oh, Flight Risk, Captain America. Oh, Back in Action, dude. Wolfman, I thought was really bad. I didn't like that at all.
Yeah, I
So you
didn't.
liked it, didn't you? Didn't you give it a
I
review?
leaned positive.
Okay.
I wouldn't. It's still number 7 out of the 12 new movies I've seen this year so
Okay.
far.
12
But
Hertz was that's the worst movie I've seen all year.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
well I didn't even go to see that one
Yeah,
because
I went to the early screener and I was like, dude, this is like walkout bad.
it was like every scene I saw felt like it was designed to be a Super Bowl ad, but
Yeah.
an hour and a half long.
Yeah.
So I was like, dude, it's one of those things where, we've watched enough movies that we can give it the eye test.
Yeah.
And I was like, this
I
looks
think that
like
one kind
steaming
of
pile of
duped me a
crap.
little bit because I was real excited for Ke Huy Quan to find
Yeah, like get his leading role
Yeah,
and like they
and then it was another stunt director, stunt coordinator turned director who did stuff like with John Wick and Nobody. So I was like, all right, cool. Maybe at the very least it'll be like just mindless fun.
yeah.
And the action sequences were okay, but the movie's so mind-numbingly stupid. And whatever happened to Ariana DeBois? Like that girl like was on this trajectory, and
Dude,
now her career's turned into like every time she's in a movie, I'm like, I'm not gonna go see it. 'Cause
I've said this for
uh,
so long. I've avoided so many movies that she's in.
yeah,
I feel bad for her. It's not even like I see her on the cast list and I'm like, I'm not watching this. I see this on the cast list and I'm like, oh yeah, this is gonna be dog shit.
because she was also in what was that horrible Henry Cavill movie
All right,
last
so
year?
I think she is on a historic awful run right
Yes.
now. Let me read you like her last
Yes,
like
please
5
do.
films because it is
It's so
terrible.
bad,
And I
man.
feel bad because I see her in interviews. She seems like a very nice
Yeah,
person.
and she's a great
you know?
actress. That's the problem.
So it's like she got like the Illmatic curse.
Yeah,
It was like she put
Hilary
out her best
Swank.
work in the
Remember when
first.
Hilary Swank? I think it was after Million Dollar Baby, like the movies that she was putting out. You're like, wait, you're an Oscar winner though. Why are you doing this?
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
So she went from West Side Story
Uh-huh.
to
She won the Oscar for that, right?
yes.
Yeah.
And then it's only downhill from here.
Yeah.
So not even like a stop, like leveling out. It's just further. So ISS, which was that like space thriller, the
Dumbest movie.
Wish from Disney,
Yep.
Argyle with Henry Cavill, which I actually didn't hate the end of it because they clearly said like screw it. And like when the ice skate stuff, a lot of people checked out. That's when I actually checked in.
You're like, this is
But
so out of pocket. I'm
in
now.
House of Spoils, which was like an Amazon Prime.
Yeah, I didn't watch that.
Yeah. Craven.
Oh God.
And then Love Hurts, dude.
Hey, did you see Craven?
Didn't see it.
Last time we talked, I told you need to watch it.
Yeah, I do need to watch. Maybe I'll watch that tonight after the Oscars.
The one-liners that she has in that movie, they rival Russell Crowe's, which are all time.
I just think what's nice about those Sonyverse movies, that and Madam Web, it just makes me feel confident that if you and me wanted to, we could get into the ADR business.
Yeah.
because the ADR in
So much
those films,
ADR.
dude. But it's also just like you see the back of someone's head and you like barely see their lips. So you
Oh
see
yeah.
it not moving, but they're
Yep.
saying a whole line.
That
Like
was
it's
like
crazy.
the villain in Madam Web.
Oh my God, dude. It
That
was
was so
full
distracting. I was like, did that guy actually say any lines? Because I
full
feel like
paragraphs of exposition when his mouth wasn't
with
moving.
ADR, yeah, yeah,
Wild.
yeah, insane.
Oh
But
my
yeah, no,
God.
she's been on a bad run, man, and I feel
But
bad.
my take on that is with like something like hockey or something like that, like the plus minus stat.
Yeah. Oh
So
yeah.
like, good thing if something, maybe this person's not the MVP of the team, but if they score a lot when they're on the court or on the ice, they have a high plus minus.
Yeah. Yeah.
If terrible shit happens all the time when they're on the court or ice, they have a terrible plus minus, right? I think that Ariana DeBose has the worst plus minus in the history of modern movie making.
I think you're right.
Like you put her in it, there's something in the water. I don't know. It's just not like I said, I feel bad for her. I wanted to actively see her turn it around, but
I love it, man. Because I mean, actually, Hillary Swank did that the first time because she won for Boys Don't Cry,
right.
and then she was in like bad movie, bad movie, bad movie, $1 Million Baby, and then
Yep.
all of a sudden, dude, it was like everything she was in after that, just and kind of Cuba Gooding Jr. effect. Like he won for Jerry Maguire in every movie after that. There's a couple decent ones, but nothing where you're like, oh wow, man.
Yeah.
He really did something with his career after that. So
Terrible.
yeah, I don't know if it's an agent thing. Like I feel like more actors should just to negotiate themselves and
Well,
read
they
the
need to
damn
do it.
script before you agree to it.
They need to do it like Bill Murray.
Yeah,
Like how like he has an 800 number that he
yeah,
still uses. He's never had an agent. Just leave him a voicemail, and if he likes it, he'll get back to
he'll
you.
get back to
But that does result in him thinking the Fairley brothers were doing that Garfield movie.
you. Oh, the Cohen brothers.
Is that what he thought?
You thought it was the Cohen
Oh
brothers.
my God.
I was like, why
Yeah.
would the Cohen brothers do Garfield? That's on you, bro.
That's really bad,
Because it
dude.
was written by Joel Cohen, but it's spelled
Right.
Cohen. So that's why he thought it was one of the Cohen brothers.
That's terrible.
I know, man. Um, okay, so let's see. See, like we always have the best conversation. My wife's like, "You guys should do this more often." I'm like, "Look, we're busy. I'll have them on when we can get you on."
That would be our whole lives if we did this more often.
I know, dude. Well, you know what? One day when we're doing this full time, then yeah,
Yes. It'll be like
let's
another 10-hour podcast in the books.
yeah, yeah, that's what everybody needs.
Right.
Let's all right. So best picture. All right. So Honora. So let's do our picks. Do you think Honora is going to win? Is
I
that
think
where?
it is. I think that it is going to win. Yes.
Okay. But what should win?
I mean, Dune Part 2.
Of course. Okay. All right. Yeah, we're on the same page there. I want to
Yes.
do that. I want to go through what's going to win and what should
I
win.
might throw a buck on that just so I can say I did.
Yeah.
Just so even though it's not going to win, but just so I can say I was part of the.
And I
part
know
of
you
the
saw A
movement.
Simple Life. Would that have cracked your top 10 after experiencing that movie?
What was it? A Simple Life? What was that one?
No, I mean what the hell is it called? The Brazilian movie.
Oh, I'm Still Here.
I'm Still Here. I don't know where I was thinking.
I don't know what you got that from, but
Man, this just happens with middle age, Sully.
you're not middle aged because I'm not close. I think I wouldn't give that too much
I'm
props
Still
for
Here.
best.
Yeah.
I wouldn't give it too much props for best picture. I did really like it. I just don't realistically think that it would win. But where I would have the push more is her as best actress.
Yeah. I could definitely see that. So let's move over to the old best actress here.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen either. But that's where I would have liked to have
So this is
seen it.
interesting.
I've wanted Demi Moore since the beginning.
You and
So
me both, bro.
yeah,
Because I think Mikey Madison is so good that she's
Yeah.
going to be nominated. She's going to be in this category quite a bit going on. But Demi Moore's at 66%.
I
Uh,
try. It's impossible not to, but I try to keep away from that line of thinking, just in the sense of like, thinking that someone might get to the, that kind of pedestal again. But it's hard for me on the opposite not to think like, okay, this is definitely easily going to be Demi Moore's
right.
only shot at this.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a Nora's night where they just give it everything.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see Demi Moore because honestly, I mean, she's in her mid 60s. Like,
Yeah.
that's
And she crushes that. I like,
dude.
so another reason my mother was talking about, like when I told her that I think Demi Moore should win this, and I think my mom wants Cynthia Erivo to win. And
I
she's
get it.
like,
Cynthia Erivo's fantastic.
and she's like, why do you think Demi Moore should be winning over Cynthia Erivo? And I go, I think this performance by Demi Moore is so much more risky and so much more fearless in the sense of like, look, Cynthia Erivo has an incredible singing voice. She sings in everything, you know? Like, I think this is so out of the box and
Yeah.
so out of Demi Moore's comfort zone where it's like she always, you know, she was like a pretty big movie star back in the day.
Oh yeah,
She
man.
was always in stuff where it was like she was using her looks to her advantage in these movie roles, and she was an attractive movie star in something, and like she's literally addressing in this movie something that's the exact this idea of the exact opposite. So it's like for me, I think it's a lot more creative, daring, and risky of a performance.
Yeah.
That's just me personally, but
I
so
agree.
I've been on that train for Demi Moore getting this
I
since I
agree,
saw the movie.
and I know that there's parts in that movie that people find like unintentionally hilarious. You know, especially when she turns into like the witch from Snow
Oh
White
my god,
towards the end.
yeah.
uh, but I agree with you. It was something that was a giant risk. I would never see Demi Moore in that role, like
No.
ever. So I would 100% give it to her. I mean, Mikey Madison was so good in that movie, but I keep saying this about Honora, and everybody I've kind of mentioned it to, I think more or less agrees with me. But I said, she's so good in that movie, no doubt. But I think the whole thing that holds that movie together is the guy who plays Igor. Was it Yor Borzov?
Yeah.
That guy to me was like
You need someone to
really
bounce it off of.
yeah, like
Yeah.
if he wasn't in that movie, I'm not sure where that movie stands now. And it doesn't make that final scene of that movie as impactful if it was
Right.
anyone else. So, and I think Mikey Madison, I mean, she's like 25, she's gonna
Yeah.
be here. She'll be here again. Um, and what's funny, dude, is like, with the Oscars nowadays, it's like you and me are so
We're middle aged.
yeah, we're middle
Yeah.
aged, but we're so entrenched in this world,
Yes.
and I don't talk to, and nobody's like excited about the Oscars anymore.
Right.
I'm like,
Yeah.
honestly, if I didn't watch it, it's like I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. It's not
Right. Yeah.
not my bread and butter. I just enjoy movies for what they are. But I had something with like a fun side bet to do, and it'd be like, hey, let's do over unders of like how many times Trump's name gets mentioned tonight. Like the over
God.
under is 1.5.
Yeah.
How many standing ovations over under 3.5?
I would
Political
take I'm hammering the over on all of those.
Yeah, me too.
You know.
Political statements by speakers over under 2.5. I'm going over on that
I'd
for
probably take
sure.
like over 8.5.
Yeah, no kidding, dude. Speech thanking the Academy over under 15.5. So that's a good one.
That is a good one.
But everybody thanks the Academy, don't they?
I think so.
Yeah. Tears during acceptance speeches over under 2.5.
I might take under there.
Okay.
I feel like I don't see a ton of waterworks all that often,
That's true.
but maybe.
References to streaming services over under 3.5. On the Trump one, I wouldn't be surprised just with kind of the way things are nowadays. And just, since you won a popular vote, and Hollywood seems to kind of be backing off a little bit. It's not like 2016, 2017 with this. They might not even say his name at all.
Right.
But I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't get mentioned at all, or I wouldn't be surprised, excuse me,
If he's
if his name
mentioned
gets mentioned
constant.
20
Yeah.
times. Yeah. So
Right.
it's kind of weird right now. You don't really know where Hollywood stands on that thing because they're kind of like, oh well, we're in this weird position. We like to virtue signal, so whatever floats our boat.
Yeah.
Let's see here. So we got that. So you're picking Demi Moore,
Yeah, full steam ahead.
and is that who you'd want to win too?
Yes.
Who should win? I agree. I agree with both of that. So here,
That might be the best pick of the entire night in the sense of who I think is going to win and who I also want to win.
yeah, me too. So for best actor, Adrian Brody's at 64%. It's funny. It looks like it's kind of been this the whole time. Like if you look at it really hasn't gone below 60% for Adrian Brody. And then
You probably saw a tiny dip when the AI stuff was
AI stuff.
announced.
But I don't think he should be punished for that. He had nothing
No.
to do with that crap. So
Yeah.
So yeah, for best actor, I know you didn't see that Brutalist is one of the few movies you didn't see, right? Honestly, so
Brutus, yeah.
I think Adrian Brody will win, but I would love to see Coleman Domingo win because I thought
Hmm.
he was so ridiculously good in Sing Sing.
Yeah, I actually didn't get a chance to see that either.
Oh, okay.
They were like never showing it that much around me.
Yeah, man, A24 did that
They
movie
dropped
no
the ball,
favors. They
dude.
dropped it big time because that movie was great. Yeah, but I think you can rent it now.
Yeah, I gotta
Yeah.
check that out.
So you got Adrian Brody there too? That one's a hard one
Yeah,
for you to answer of who you think should win. 'Cause
well, just from everything I've seen, on social media and everything,
yeah,
that's one of those things where, yeah, I probably think he would win. I wouldn't mind if Chalamet won though.
I wouldn't mind if Chalamet won, but that dude's gonna be there ad nauseam. I think
Every
he's gonna
year.
be there every year.
Yeah,
He's gonna be the Meryl Streep of male actors, just
right.
nominated every single time he's in
Yeah, I could
a
see that.
movie.
Definitely.
Let's see. Best supporting actress. Oh, we already looked at this. So Zoe Saldana. Oh, she's at 94% now. Uh, so I think she's gonna win. Who should win? I'm fine with her winning. I'm fine if they go
Yeah,
for her.
I think that
Actually, I
was
like
gonna.
Monica Barbaro, but I didn't think she was in the movie. I guess she's like the perfect amount of supporting in that movie.
My biggest take probably for the whole ceremony, and you'll know this right when I said this because I was I was draping this movie in praise the last time we chatted, is my biggest long shot, which definitely will not happen, but that I would love to happen, is best visual effects would be Better Man. But that is just my own personal,
But
you
wasn't
know.
your thing last time that was technically a 2025 movie?
I go yes, but since it's listed here on
It says
2024, I have
2024,
to.
yeah. So
But yes, no, I am listing that. It is still my number one movie of
you
2025.
put that over visual effects over Dune?
No, but
Oh,
I just wanted to get something.
yeah.
But no, Dune should and will win that.
Dude, the memes that have been created about that movie are
Oh
hilarious.
yeah.
Like people that watch The Monkey and they're like, "Hey," they're like, "Man, this Robbie Williams movie is fucked
Yeah,
up."
they're like, what does this have to do with Robbie Williams?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, it is
Which
funny.
The Monkey was the most disappointing movie I think I've seen this year so far.
I think I'm just not an Oz Perkins guy, unfortunately.
I don't think I am either,
I
man.
was very disappointed, even though I leaned positive, but very disappointed with Long Legs.
Me too. I lean positive, but
And
I didn't get the hype on that movie.
I still think even at I have that at like a 3 out of 5, and I think that's the best Oz Perkins movie.
Yeah.
The Monkey I gave a 2.5 out of 5.
Yeah, so you're
Just
right
because
down the
it's
middle on
like
that.
so much tonal shift.
Oh
Like,
yeah, dude. Like so I thought when it first started, I was like, this is gonna be awesome. Because
yeah,
the first
agreed.
I was like, this is gonna be like a modern day Final Destination that's
Yeah,
done by an actual like good filmmaker. And then yeah, towards the third act, I was like, what the fuck is even this movie right now?
yeah,
It was trying to, and then it was, it became like real existential, and then it was trying to like bring in some of that humor, and it just wasn't working at all towards the end
yeah.
of the movie. But some of the kills were good.
It's tough because I like Theo James,
I love Theo James.
so I
Yeah,
wanted it to be like awesome. And I think he's still pretty solid in
I
there.
love the Gentleman series. Did you watch
Yeah,
that?
yeah, that's really good.
That was
Yeah.
great.
I don't think he gets enough roles to be honest, but he's been great in every TV show I've seen him. I thought he was
Yeah.
great in White Lotus.
Oh man. So
Plays
you
such
like
a good
White
dick.
Lotus?
I love White Lotus. Yeah,
I love. Excuse me. Jeez. I
getting
really
old,
like that.
man.
I know. I know. I really like that show, but I was telling my wife the other day, I was like, the biggest issue with the show is with it being, an ensemble cast,
Hmm.
is that they only really show you like the worst parts of every character.
Right,
So by the end, when stuff pops off, you're like, I don't care if any one of them lives or dies.
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you know?
No,
Uh,
I'm with you there for sure. You like
yeah,
you hate.
like
You're supposed to hate everybody.
you're
Yeah.
supposed, yeah, yeah, and it's like it's funny. What's funny about it too, which is why I think it's actually kind of brilliant, is like, they'll have like some super macho head douche guy that's like making fun of woke cancel culture and stuff.
Hmm.
And then you got like this other girl who's like, I don't like all these white people dancing for the Hawaii, or all these
Right.
Hawaiians dancing for the white people who stole their land. And they're both equally just shitty people. So I'm
Right.
just like,
Yeah.
that's what's great about it, is like they're not hammering you
They
over the
always
head with
equal out.
everyone's equal in
Yeah.
that show. But so far so good with the third season. I'm
Yeah,
really
I
enjoying
like it.
this one. I think I like the first season better than the second. I know maybe
First is
people.
first has always been my favorite. I
Yeah.
just think you can't beat what's his name? Mari Bartlett or whatever. The guy that plays Armand.
Oh yeah.
Like I just
Yeah.
think he's the best character they've ever had in the series.
I agree 100% with
He is
that.
acting circles around everybody else and is just so funny and layered.
Yeah. And I
So
loved having Steve Zahn in there and Connie
yes,
Britton.
yeah,
Um,
that first
second
season
season,
cast.
yeah, the second season I really liked, but I it got really weird with the like when it was like the dream sequency stuff when
Yeah,
she finds out that the guy spoilers, but the guy who she was hanging out with was like hired to kill her so her husband could get her
right.
yeah, and get her life insurance and all her money.
That is such a great scene though of her shooting everybody at the end.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it was so funny too because it's almost comical how she does it because she's just like shooting the gun and you're like, what is she even
And
shooting
it's like the
anybody?
camera's just on
And then,
her.
yeah, and then the
Yeah.
camera cuts back to it and you're like, oh no, she shot a lot of people.
Everybody's dead. God.
Yeah. Okay, so here's an interesting one. Who will attend the Oscars? It says Kim Kardashian 28%. Kendrick Lamar, huh?
Wow.
29%.
Huge upsurge.
Yeah.
Wait, what was that? What's the blue one there that looked like it was up to 80%, then it came back down again?
Kendrick Lamar to 75%?
And now he's down to
I don't
20 something
understand. I
percent.
don't know any of the logic behind
For
it.
some reason, was up to 80%, then came crashing down. That's
And they
crazy.
got Obama at 22%. That's interesting. I don't know. I don't know. Like, was he announced or anything, or are they just
I don't
saying
know, but
everybody's just going to show up and watch it?
if the Chiefs had won the Super Bowl, I'd be hammering Travis Kelsey.
Yeah, yeah, you're right about that. And Taylor Swift,
Yeah.
Trump, one less than 1%. I think I think I'll take the no on that one.
Yeah.
Uh, Ryan Reynolds. I don't know. I mean, that guy's in so much hot water right now.
I don't
It's
know if he's
interesting.
I don't know if he's stepping out there. The SNL special was probably enough for him.
See, that's like the stuff my wife loves. She's like, the Ryan Gos or the Ryan Reynolds and the Blake Lively. I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Really, it's just,
My
man, it seems like I've watched a few things on it. I'm like, it seems pretty shady by what Blake Lively was polling. I was like, but at the end of the day, it's a bunch of like these rich people fighting about rich people shit that like normal people just can't really relate to.
I my take on it has been like I don't really care either.
Yeah.
But my take on it has been that I believe everything that they've said has happened, and they're both assholes, both parties.
Yes.
So that's basically it. You just have to decide who you think was
Yep.
less of an asshole.
Less of an asshole and which one. I mean, they're suing each other for untold millions, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty crazy.
So I'm
So
gonna, you know what? Talking about this more, I'm taking the no on Ryan Reynolds.
yeah, I'll take the no on that. Let's see, best actor. Where's the best supporting actor? Man, they don't have that up towards the top. That's interesting. I don't know. I don't even see it. Oh, here it is at the very bottom. Weird. So Kieran Culkin's at 95%. Yeah, I mean, he's been up here, dude. Look at
That's
that
been the narrative the whole time.
the
Yeah.
whole time. Yeah, I mean, who else would you give it to? Honestly, I mean, Guy Pearce was good. Jeremy Strong was good. I honestly, I would have loved to see this dude get it, but I'm totally fine with Kieran Culkin. I thought A Real Pain was excellent. How'd you feel about that movie? I don't know if we talked about that last time.
I actually have not seen that either.
Oh, okay.
I know I'm a little behind.
A little behind, yeah. Yeah, watching all those Chinese box office hits.
What can I say?
Yeah, yeah, man, you're getting
When
old.
nature calls.
Do you have you made a list of like your favorite comedies of all time? I'd be interested in watching that.
I think I had like a letterbox list that I started of like my essential comedies and then just like didn't fill it out enough. I gotta get back on that.
And I wish I could do Letterbox. It rubs me the wrong way that's
I love
Do
letterbox.
you?
Yeah,
Yeah. I get it, man. I totally get the appeal. It feels like the film school. Like I went to film
for
school.
sure.
It rubs me like all those snooty people that are better than you telling me why my opinions on movies suck.
Well, I'll say this: the reason I like it is solely to keep in touch with my friends and see what
Yeah.
they're watching.
Yeah, that's cool.
I totally understand that like without that element, it's very much what you're describing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it got a little too enjoying the smell of its own farts. But
Yes, big
I
time.
mean, a lot of people love it, and I totally understand why. It's just I kind of actively avoid it these days.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, Kieran Culkin, I'm cool with that. Let's see. So there were some ones that I went by that looked pretty interesting. Um, Rule of 10. Oh, here's one. Best director. So Sean Baker at 68. Wow, look, he like skyrocketed right here.
Oh, wait, this is all today.
Oh, this is all today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is all
Let's
today. Look
see.
at like
Let's
a week ago or
see all. How about that? Or we could do 1 week.
yeah,
One week he's been on there.
Because
1 month.
Corbet had it for a long
Yeah.
time, I
See, it
felt
looked
like.
like a this is from a month ago,
And then
February.
there was like the Saturn Awards, the SAG
Yeah.
Awards, and
Yeah.
all that. So
So yeah, Bradley Corbett up here almost 100% like
yeah,
a month ago. And then after
sayonara.
February 8th, Sean Baker overtook it, and he's up here at 68%, which I'm totally cool with that. I mean, honestly, the person that's not on this list that I would give it to is Denny. And the
Hmm.
fact, did you see that crap that came out where there were like 4 people on the Academy didn't even watch Dune?
Oh yeah, brutal.
I'm like, how are you guys gonna have a whole award ceremony if you can't even get people to watch the damn movies, especially one as good as Dune?
What's wild is I feel like more people that are voting on this stuff probably watched The Brutalist, which is longer.
Oh, it's way longer.
So I don't really get it there. But yeah, no, I mean Dune Part Two is unbelievable.
Unbelievable. And you know what? That's the movie everyone's going to be talking about from last year, 20 years from now.
And Emilia Perez for the wrong reasons.
For good
But
reasons. Yeah.
yeah, but
Yeah.
yes,
But I mean, Dune's the certified just classic that came out in 2024.
yes,
I mean, Honora, it's appreciated, but not a lot of people have seen that movie, and it's also way too much for a lot of regular folks, just with all the nudity and sex in it.
yeah,
Great movie. I adored Honora, and I actually liked it better the second time I saw it.
yeah. It's a good
First time
movie.
I saw it, I was like, "Well, that was all the buzz is about." And I like
Hmm.
Sean Baker, but then I saw it again, and it hit me completely different. Which that's
Yeah,
why I like movies. One time you might watch it and be like, "Eh," and then you watch it again, you're like, "Oh my god."
yeah.
Or you could watch something the first time and be like, "That was really good," and then you watch it again, and you go, "What the
That was trash.
yeah,
Yeah,
what am I like when I did that with Gladiator too. I think I told you that. Like, I really liked it the first time I saw it, and then I watched it again, and I was like, man, I understand. I understand why everybody in the comments hates me.
yeah. I told you that's one that I'm not looking forward to revisiting because I really liked it
Yeah,
the first time. So
yeah. No, stick with that. Keep
yeah,
those
that's
memories
it.
alive.
That's it.
It's like when you really watch a movie when you're a kid, or when you really really like a movie when you're a kid, and then you watch it as an adult, and you go, "Why? What the
Yeah,
fuck?"
yep. It happens
Better
far
to
too
hold on to
often.
those memories.
I know.
So yeah, Sean Baker, I'm cool with him winning. Uh, yeah, will win and should win is my opinion on that
Yep.
matter. Um, are there any others that you're really interested in? Best animated. This one. Did you see Flow?
I have not seen Flow
Okay, I
actually,
was going to be interested to hear what your thoughts were
but
on
I've
this
heard
one.
people like it. It
It's
seems like,
fantastic.
and it seems like the type of movie that I'd really like. So
It's definitely not like a kids movie, if
yeah,
that makes sense. Like I tried watching it with my younger two, and they weren't into it at all. I mean, they liked the
yeah,
cat, but
yeah.
that only went so far. The movie's a lot deeper than that. I thought it
Hmm.
was excellent,
Yeah,
but give me Wild Robot all day. I love
yeah,
Wild Robot.
yeah. It's a very good movie.
Yeah, so I think will win and should win. Inside Out 2, honestly, I got lambasted in the comments for it because I just gave it a okay review. I didn't love it.
Yeah, I thought it was just all right.
It didn't hit the same way as the first
No,
one.
and the first one is sublime.
I think so. My daughter's roughly around the age as Riley is in that movie, and I think it
Hmm.
hit her a little bit more. But she grew up watching the first Inside Out, so she could relate more to the new one. I was like, this movie to me, the first one, I feel like everybody can kind of relate to that, to sort of the loss of innocence of being a kid and like getting older, right?
Yeah,
I was like, this one seemed a little bit more niche in the fact that it's like, yeah, we all went through being teenagers, but this was very much like targeted towards young girls.
hmm,
And so I was like, I can't really gel with that as much as the first one, as far as the two things they're comparing them to.
Yeah, I'm still recovering from the loss of Bing Bong in the first one.
Yeah,
So
dude. I mean, my daughter, when that was the first time she got emotionally affected by a movie. And what's hilarious, I got a funny story about the first Inside Out. So that was the very first movie I ever took her to.
mhm.
She was almost 3, and I took her to that movie, and I didn't realize at the time, but I bought a 3D ticket for it.
Okay.
So I was like, I don't know, man. I was like, I don't know if she's gonna be able to handle this because one, it's big dark theater, big screen, loud noises. I was like, but I added in the element of the 3D glasses.
Right. It's just completely like
So
sensory overload.
yeah, so the movie starts and like the first trailer, it wasn't 3D, or the first trailer or two, they weren't 3D. So she was just sitting there, she was cool. And then the next one was I think like a Minions movie or Despicable Me movie, and it was fully 3D.
Yeah.
And she just starts like when she was scared like that, when she was that little, she
Yeah.
used to always say she wants to go to daddy's car. So
Yeah.
she just in the middle of the movie, "No, I want to go to daddy's car." I was like,
Yeah.
oh boy. I just
Yeah.
grabbed her and just walked right out of the
Yeah. We're out. We're
yeah.
done.
So she was like traumatized from the movie theater for a little bit. And then
Yeah.
I found
Which is your worst nightmare.
I know, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
well, so the next week she came up to me and she was like, she's like, Daddy, I want to be a big girl. I want to be brave. Like, let's go again. And I was
Yeah.
like, no, honey, I don't want to have to put you through
You
that.
pick another 3D movie.
No. So I paid for, and she was like adamant about it. She's like, I really want to go see it. I really want to. Like, she was like, please, please, please. So I took her again, and I was like, I'll just get the smaller screen,
Yep.
maybe with not a lot of people. And then we bought popcorn, all the stuff. I spent all my savings at that.
Yep. $80 at the
We
theater.
walked
Yeah.
in, and she made it to the first 5 minutes of the movie. And she's like, "Oh, I want to go to that." I was like, "All right, you know what? We're not going to the movies anymore. We're just
Yeah.
not
We're
doing it."
done. We're done.
Just
Yeah.
grabbed all the stuff, threw it in the trash, and just I was like, "All right,
We're not ready for this.
we're not ready for this." And so
Yeah.
then about a year later, I think the Peanuts movie was out, and they had a special screening for kids where it's like sensory deprivation.
And just like every
lights
kid's,
are on a little bit. The sound
everyone's allowed to
turned down.
yell.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
sounds turned down a little bit, so I brought her to that, and she made it through just fine after
Yeah.
that. And then she became addicted to the theater. She became my
Perfect.
little movie buddy, but
Yep.
yeah, the first time did not go well.
Or the
watch
second.
movies. What's that?
Or the second time.
Yeah, or the second. Yeah, the first couple times it was.
She was lucky. She was on her third strike.
Well, it's so funny because now like she's obsessed with movies.
Yeah.
And she's starting to get into like I've shown her a couple rated R movies, and she really loves like Scream. Like that's her
Yep.
jam.
Yeah.
And I was telling Matt last week, I was like, what's interesting is when we were growing up, like all the movies people would talk about and quote and stuff were comedy movies from that era. I was like, but now all the kids talk about are horror movies. I was like, my daughter and all her friends were like obsessed with Smile too. Like that was the movie.
Really?
Yeah, that was the movie for those kids last year. And I was like, that's why I think horror movies are starting to be. Dude, when I went and saw the Terrifier, I went to it wasn't the critic screening, but it was a pre-screening, like earlier screening. And it was all adults in there, it's a not rated movie. And then all these kids snuck into the movie. I was like, there were some people that you could tell were getting pissed because they were like 12 years old, maybe.
Right.
And I just started laughing. I was like, I used to do that shit all the time. I was like, this actually kind of makes me feel a little nostalgic. I was like, I used to do that all the time when I was a little kid. Buy a ticket for Wild Wild West and go see the South Park movie.
I'm very happy that it ended up being a very good one because the first R-rated movie I ever snuck into was Tropic Thunder.
Oh,
what a way to rein it in,
Yeah. What a way to just kick things off. Dude.
Literally.
I think the first one I snuck into was Varsity Blues.
All right. Yeah. I like that one.
Oh, I love that movie, dude.
Yeah, I like that one.
It's cheesy, but it's fun as hell.
Yeah.
What will Conan say at the Oscars? Gene Hackman Trump. Some of these are hilarious, dude. So the international film.
It's gotta be I'm Still Here.
Yeah, 69%. Nice. 69. Emilia Pérez, though, is that high. I wouldn't.
I honestly think it's just because like that's the only two people have seen.
So when I had Marta on, she told me The Girl with the Needle and The Seed and the Sacred Fig are like excellent movies, but I haven't seen them.
It's like one of those things. Like I honestly think movies with long titles are kind of cursed.
Yeah.
Like it's just like for some reason they don't win.
It reminds me of like the early 2000s when all the emo bands like Fall Out Boy and what's her name, Panic at the Disco and stuff, like the
Yeah.
emo pop bands would come out and like all their song titles were like this long and it had nothing to do with the song.
It was like any title that you'd be on your iPod and it would have to like scroll.
Scroll, yeah,
Yeah,
for you
you
to see
can't
the
even
full
see the
name
whole
of it.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like that one song, the one Panic at the Disco song, the first early hit that's huge. It's like the song, the title has nothing to do with
Oh
the
yeah.
song at all. Yeah.
Yeah. But that was emo.
Yeah.
Like that
That
was
was
you
so
had to
emo.
do that, you
Yeah.
know?
Yep. Yep. Yeah. I guess you were a kid back then going through all that stuff. So you're,
Oh yeah.
but I'm sure
I
you
love
remember
that.
it
I
vividly.
loved that stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude. I liked it too. And I
It
was
was
a
like
little
2 years ago. I was at a concert that was Weezer, Green Day, and Fallout Boy.
oh my
So
God,
you
dude.
know, yeah,
Man, that's speaking my language right there.
exactly.
All right. So here's one that's interesting because I've actually the Brutal is at 81% for cinematography. Dune dropped below
I
Nosferatu.
would love if Nosferatu won, but it won't
I would
happen.
love if Nosferatu won. I also think Dune should probably win.
Yeah,
Brutalist is great, but Dune and Nosferatu, dude, those were the two. Those were the two gems this past year.
yeah.
Anybody in your film circle have they what have they been saying about the Brutalist?
Oh, I mean, I've been seeing a lot of high reviews for it.
Yeah.
People seem to
Have you
really
seen
like
any
it.
of the bad ones though? Because I agree, like I liked it a lot. I'd give it probably like a 7.5 or 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
Well, I understand a lot of the crap that people don't like about the movie because the
Mm-hmm.
message in the movie is really it's pretty on the nose and it's
Yeah.
not a very good one.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where I think a lot of people are like, oh, so it's basically like, follow your dreams, but your dreams don't mean shit, sort of thing. That's kind of the
Okay.
that it gives you. Um, so yeah, I'm more interested to see like now that more and more people are starting to watch that movie, you're starting to hear like every man kind of put his
Takes on it.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's all. That's how you know if a movie has longevity. Like Dune
Right.
Part Two obviously has its haters. Some people hate Dune because they just don't have good taste.
Correct.
But but for the most part, like I'd say 9 out of 10 people I talk to think Dune Part Two is just next level awesome.
Yeah. It's
And then you'll
incredible.
meet that one person that's like, it's just not for me. And I'm like,
My wife really didn't like the first one, and she is obsessed with the second one
yeah, I think my wife thought the first one was okay,
because it
but
was all just like table setting, which I get, but for a sci-fi freak like me, like I even
oh,
loved
dude,
that.
yeah, like you're probably just riveted from
Yeah,
the first frame.
100%, 100%.
But my wife thinks the first Dune's like she doesn't hate it, but it's not like a movie that she'd actively go out and seek to watch again.
Yeah,
But Dune Part Two, she actually saw in the theater twice, and
yeah,
I've
it
been with her for a
rocks.
long time, and I've never seen her see a movie twice.
Yeah, that was essential IMAX viewing.
Yep, yep. And I brought my kids to see it. They were like, "Whoa," just
No daddy's car.
no daddy's
All
car
right,
for
there we
them, man.
go. There we
I
go.
know my daughter now is 12, so
Yeah.
she can hang with the best of them when it
Yeah, good.
comes to those movies. But yeah. What else do we got here? Yeah, that's pretty much it, man. International adapted screenplay. Conclave looks like it's at 90%. I really enjoyed Nickel Boys, man. I thought that was
Yeah, I
fantastic.
gotta watch that.
Yeah. And unfortunately, like with documentaries, I didn't watch any of them. I barely watch documentaries anymore, which is weird. I used to be really into them.
That's one that I've always said like I need to get more back into
Yeah,
documentaries.
I think I do too. But I think what turned me off, and I'm curious if you're in the same boat as me, but like so many documentaries of the last 5 to 10 years have become like murder. It's like who murdered this
Yeah,
person,
it's all like true crime shit.
all the
Yeah.
true crime crap. Which you know, hats off to you. A lot of people love it, especially the ladies. But it doesn't appeal to me. Um, and I think part of it, I actually had this conversation with a fellow coworker, and she loves the true crime, and I was like, but she hates horror movies.
Hmm.
And I was like, why? And she's like, just because of the stuff that happens in there, blah blah blah. And I go, yeah, but the stuff that happens in true crime stories actually happened.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
those are the real monsters, not the fake ones with big googly eyes. Like
Yes. Yeah. No, that's a little interesting. Like that's
it is.
definitely an interesting take.
It's a weird pair. It's a weird. What's the term for it? Um, I don't know. It's a
Because my
paradox.
wife's kind of the opposite, where it's like she would way rather watch something that there's no way would happen in real life.
Yeah, right.
Like, but then you put on something that's like not that scary, like Prom Night or something, and she's like, I can't watch
I
this.
can't watch this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I get it for like a movie like Terrifier, which is just so grotesque and
Right.
gruesome.
Yeah.
I get why people don't want to watch those. Me being the practical effects freak that I am,
Yeah.
I love practical effects. I love watching those movies because I'm like, man, how the hell did they do that for a shoestring budget, make it look
Seriously.
that cool? But do you like those movies at all?
So they've never wowed me.
I
Like
thought it was great.
I have no problem watching any of them. I'll say that. Like I'm a freak. I don't care about that. But when it comes to like I still think the second was the best one.
See, all right. So
Um
I was talking with Matt about that last week, and we both agree that the third was our favorite.
yeah.
Because I feel like the second one didn't answer anything. It was just the same shit as the first one, just done a little bit better and more
But
expensively.
I almost view that as like the Evil Dead 2 to
Oh yeah,
Terrifier's Evil Dead 1.
yeah,
And then 3 I thought was just more redundant, even though it had a Christmas theme.
yeah.
And I almost felt like not a lot happened. So I was almost surprised when the credits rolled. I was like, okay, I feel like we didn't really go anywhere. Um, but no, I mean, I don't dislike them.
But
I think I've given all of them a positive rating other than the
yeah,
first one. I thought the first one was kind of just
just whatever.
all right. I didn't really understand the
Yeah,
hype.
I loved the third one. I
Yeah.
think I gave it like a 7.5 out of 10 or something. I
Yeah.
thought because it was out of all of them, like the first two, he's just a mean killing machine. And
Yeah.
this one, you're kind of like, oh, maybe he's a demon. Like it had a little bit more
Right. A
substance
little
to
bit
the
more
character
world
growth.
building.
Yeah, there was more world building. There was more character development, I guess you could say. I do the family parts do drive me crazy with how Hallmark movie they feel,
Yeah.
you know.
Definitely.
But I think it set it up really good in this one, and I liked. I just thought the ending was just batshit wild, and
Yeah, it was
the
crazy.
kills were so good that I
Yeah.
was like, I can't say anything, but this movie's great.
Everything that happened in the house at the end was pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, dude, the murder of the ant with the pipe in her mouth with the
Right.
rat and stuff. I mean, that was just so creative and
Yeah.
ridiculous and awesome. But yeah, that totally ties into what we're talking about with the Oscars. Um, but Dune Part Two at 93% for visual effects, so that should win, or that will win and should win, in my
Yeah.
opinion. Better Man, less than 1%.
Hate to see that.
Yeah.
That
Twister.
1% is me.
Yeah. Even though Dune Part Two is your jam for
Still,
next year.
I
I mean,
have
Kingdom of
to.
the Planet of the Apes is fantastic too.
I
What's
like
so
that
funny,
one
dude,
too.
is like all the movies that are nominated this year, there's not one Marvel or Star Wars because they all look like
Yeah.
shit now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That was all right. So back to Captain America.
Sure.
That was what drove me crazy watching that movie because there are moments where the CG is so good, and then you cut to like the third act, when everything's popping off the Hulk and all that, and it's just so green screen, uncanny valley hell that I'm just like, it's so distracting that I don't like whatever's happening. I don't even care about because I'm so taken out of the movie.
I thought the whole naval fighter jet sequence was pretty good.
That was cool. The aerial stuff was cool.
I thought that was pretty good. Everything at the end of the Red Hulk sequence where he
Yes,
was like with the water lily,
and the
you know,
the cherry blossoms and all
like,
that.
oh my God, the green screen was horrendous
Yeah, that's what I'm
in
saying.
that. Yeah.
It was so uncanny valley.
But I
green
thought
screen hell.
the Red Hulk himself looked pretty
Yeah,
good.
he looked cool.
But yeah, no, all that cherry blossom stuff was ass.
Yeah.
It was really bad looking.
Where are you on the state of the MCU? Are you looking forward to anything? I mean,
Well,
I think Thunderbolts will be fun. It looks fun,
I'll
but
just
I'm also like,
say from a TV perspective, the only way I'm not looking forward to more Daredevil is if I am not alive on this planet. But
yes.
I
I forget that's MCU because it's actually
yeah,
good.
my take has been that I think when it's all said and done, based on who knows where things are going, but at this point in time, my personal favorite MCU media that's ever been made, you could make the argument that it's the Daredevil show.
I agree. I think we talked about that last time. I'm
Yeah,
100% in total agreement with you.
like it's like Daredevil and Winter Soldier.
Yep.
And I'm actually like about to start getting my wife to watch the Netflix show. She'd never seen it, and then we watched the first episode. And she said it was really goofy, and I was like, I don't know if I can I don't know if I can stomach this criticism of
Yeah,
this show that I really like.
I'm actually gonna have my wife watch it. My wife can handle the goofy because she loves
Yeah.
Cobra Kai, and
Yeah.
I adore Cobra Kai, but it's it's pure 80s schlock
Yeah.
essentially.
But so we'll see where things go there. But when it comes to movies, my take for a while, not that I want to happen, but for some reason, I think that when it's all said and done, the best 2025 Marvel movie might end up being Thunderbolts. But Daredevil, Spider Man, and Fantastic Four are the three heroes slash groups that I've by far read the most comics of growing up. So I need Fantastic Four to be good.
Yeah,
I don't know if it will be, but it's a good cast, and I thought the teaser was pretty good.
it was cool. It had me intrigued at the
It at
very
least feels like it's doing something different.
yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm curious with it. I mean, did you see what's his name? Rob Liefeld
yeah, I saw him going off.
going off basically saying that
Yeah,
Kevin Feige needs to get off the mound that he spent.
right.
And
Yes.
I'm kind of in agreement because I just feel like the MCU's just been so directionless for the last since Endgame, really.
Yeah.
And I
Well,
know
that's a big problem.
I know that's not a unique take or anything, but it's true. Like it doesn't have what it once had. And so this was me and my buddy were talking about this, and it was the part where in Brave New World where Ross looks at Sam and is like, "Hey, I need you to get the Avengers together." And I'm like, "Okay, that's great, but who are they?
Right. We don't even know.
Who are the Avengers?" I was like, "Is it Doctor Strange, or is he done with movies? Is it Spider Man? I don't know who any of the Avengers are."
Right. Yeah.
And I don't think they do either. So I'm
Yeah.
just like, why
That's
can't
a big problem.
yeah, because I know with Shang-Chi, I don't know if he's coming back at all.
But I actually really liked that movie.
Shang-Chi?
Yeah, I think I'm higher on that than most. I
Yeah,
think I've said that of the last phase of Marvel movies, if Spider-Man No Way Home didn't exist, Shang-Chi would be the best one.
you're not I don't think you're wrong on that, but I still didn't really care for
I
Shang-Chi.
really dug that.
I think that was the moment where I realized I don't want Aquafina in all my movies.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. I
Yeah.
think that's valid, but I also was fully there for the redemption of the Mandarin character.
Yeah, that was cool.
Like I hated him in Iron Man 3. Like I think a lot of people did.
Well, because it was a big red herring
And it
to
was just and it was
pull the
the
rug from underneath
goofiest.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the goofiest stuff ever. But I actually thought it was really funny with Ben Kingsley and
Oh
the
yeah, it was played great. It just
with
wasn't
that
at
weird
all.
headless pet that he had for some
Yeah.
reason. I don't even
Yeah.
know what that was. But
Yeah, no,
um,
it was it's not definitely not my favorite.
also, I think we were bamboozled here because I think the Oscars started half hour ago.
Did it really?
Yeah, Kieran Culkin already won
Oh,
for for best
look at that.
supporting actor.
Look at us being on top of things. I thought it started at 7
So
or 7 your time.
yeah, 8 my time. Apparently it started at 6 your time.
Okay.
They somehow this happens every year.
Yeah, you see, man, and you know what? There was a point in my life where I wouldn't have missed 1 second of the Oscars.
Yes.
Now I'm just like, I think it starts at this time,
Right. Yeah.
but yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it's on right now. Okay. Well, with that being the case, then maybe we should call it a day. I always had fun. Always have fun doing this. All right, Sully. Well, yeah, let's call it for the evening and let people get to watching the Oscars. With the giant ratings, I'm sure it's gonna get.
Yes. I mean, they need us.
They need us.
Yeah, they need our two
We
TV
should host
sets.
it one day, just
I
in
would
this
love to.
style.
Yeah, I don't think they have my phone number because clearly it would have gone by now.
Yeah.
They should have called me, but
Yeah.
I mean that'd be the thing. If the idea is to keep making the Oscars ceremony shorter, we're not the two people to do that.
No. It would just be rambling about random shit.
Some 90s movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember when movies used to be awesome?
God.
Remember? Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that
know
would
you
be
know the South
something.
Park Member Berries reference.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a best hit. So all right, brother. Well, let people know what you got coming up, where they can find you, all that fun stuff.
I'm easy. Nothing too crazy. Just at Sully Streams under literally any social media platform you use, even though I'm really only a YouTube and Twitter guy mostly right now.
Yeah.
And just movie reviews. Mickey 17 this week.
Yep.
Novocaine the next week. And then whatever else comes after that.
Whatever comes your way.
Yes. Yeah.
That's how it goes. Yeah, it's been slow, man. Like
It has been slow.
as far as movies this last couple weeks, which is
Yeah.
interesting because there have been some bigger movies coming out.
Looks like March is really gonna kick it into overdrive. So
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to this month. There's gonna be a lot of streaming stuff too, which I know you like the Gorge a lot, right?
I liked the Gorge a lot. Yeah.
I liked it. I liked it a lot for like half the movie.
Yeah.
The second half, I thought, kind of lost a little bit of what was making it so great in the first half.
Yeah. No, I dug it.
But for a streaming movie, see, that's where we are.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Great. Yeah. Really good streaming movie.
Yeah. And then I don't know. I mean, I'm seeing Mickey 17 on Wednesday, and then
Yeah.
So, all right, Sully. Well, dude, it's always a pleasure having you on.
Thanks for letting me come on here.
Of course, dude, you're awesome. Love seeing your YouTube channel kind of starting to really gain some traction.
Yeah, thanks, brother.
Got some bangers. I do miss you on Instagram. I know that yeah, but I mean, look, dude, there's only so many hours in a day. Right?
I know.
Just
I
live your
know.
life on making content.
I'll DM you back more on Instagram. I can't guarantee that I will spend much time on Instagram, but
well, you know, one of these days, when we do this enough, maybe we'll exchange phone numbers like normal human beings.
one of these days.
Yeah.
If we ever get to that level, you know.
If we ever get to that level. But all right, brother. Well, if are you gonna go watch the Oscars or?
Yeah, I think I'm under a little pressure to hit the grocery store first. But
Okay,
yes.
that's fair.
But yes, I will be watching the Oscars. I'm a huge Conan guy. So
Yeah, I love Conan too.
yeah,
that's
so
that's a good host. to have.
best late night host for me. So
Yeah, if it was Conan or Ricky Gervais, I'm tuning in
right.
100%. But
Yeah.
everybody else, I'm whatever.
Yeah, it's whatever.
Yeah, it's whatever. All right, Sully. Well, brother, have a good one.
You too,
Obviously,
dude.
you'll be back sooner than later. So keep up the good work, and we'll talk soon, bro.
Feelings mutual. See you, dude.
Later, man.